What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fresh Podcast, where we bring everything fresh and entertainment. I am your host, Drew Brophy, and join with me are my two very close friends. First up, we got Seth. Seth, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Gotcha. And then Robert. Robert, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I haven't talked to you in 7 months?
It has been a good minute since we've done an actual episode. We've kind of just... I've just kind of been throwing up random clips on there, months in between and stuff. But yes, this will be our first podcast back in 7 months. But we are returning for a very special new movie, because it's the dawn of the Fresh Podcast new chapter, but it's also the dawn of the new DC Cinematic Universe chapter with Superman, the kind of brand new restart to this universe. James Gunn's kind of opening glory shot with this movie, and we're gonna sit here, tell you, is it better, worse than the previous movies? Is it as good as people say, or is it not as super as everyone thinks? Spoiler alert, I think we all kind of like this movie.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think he kind of cooked.
Yeah, it was quite good, and it kind of, I'll get more into it later, but it's wild to me of watching this movie. I had a realization halfway through. I was like, oh wow, I really hated pretty much everything Zack Snyder did with DC. I was like, wow, yeah, I like every single one of those movies much less now, and I really didn't like them at all before this, but I watched it, I was like, wow, they really fumbled, because if this was the possibility, and then thinking about what was actually delivered was crazy. Yeah. Seth, what was your kind of just general thoughts of the movie without getting into spoilers?
Yeah, I think I will echo a thought that's pretty prevalent across, I think, the internet right now. This is the best Superman movie, which is also, like the internet says, not really saying a lot. I think the only thing really comparable is probably the Donner Superman from the 70s. And I haven't seen that movie personally. I mean, I might have, I don't remember, or that might have been Superman 2 because the clips are weird. Anyways, I feel like this is a Superman for a new generation. And I think it's really good at capturing the essence of what makes Superman so special. Mm-hmm. And why this character, who has been in syndication since I think the 30s, is still so impactful for audiences. Just quickly, I'll just say that I feel like over the years we've kind of had a bit of a struggle to figure out how do we make and keep Superman interesting as stories, and particularly the superhero genre has evolved. One thing that struck me about this film is that it feels almost like a answer to a post-Invincible world, that I'll get into that a little bit later, where more audiences are now exposed to that comic book series and kind of how it approaches the super powered person coming from outside our world and how it impacts the way our world goes. So I think this movie is great. In general, I think it's the best superhero film I've seen this year. It's not really a contest to me.
How many superhero movies have we gotten this year?
Fantastic
Four just came out.
Yeah, Fantastic Four, Thunderbolts, and
Thunderbolts,
and Captain America: Brave New World. So there's 4 superhero movies that are out, and 3 of the 4 of them, I will say, are quite good.
I didn't watch the Brave New World.
That is the one.
I honestly forgot about that one.
It's honestly, real quick, it's not that bad. But it's only fine. So it's really not really worth your time unless you're I'm a diehard new Captain America fan, or I'm a diehard Red Hulk fan. But literally the other 3 that came out in Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, and this, all great movies. All really solid fucking superhero movies. So I would say, yeah, definitely worth seeing all of them. But specifically about Superman, Robert, what were you saying about your kind of general thoughts about this?
Overall, I really liked it. I could say I honestly don't remember much about the Zack Snyder movies. I didn't watch Man of Steel. I remember like nothing of Batman versus Superman, and I think I got like an hour into Justice League, and then I got bored and stopped watching it. So,
Probably the best way to watch a
I,
lot of those movies.
yeah,
Yeah.
just from what I understand, a lot of those movies try to have like a lot darker or like anti-hero kind of take on Superman. Is that wrong to say?
No.
Not
'Cause
really.
Yeah. 'Cause
Also,
I feel
you
like going
say
back into like,
it's darker themes. Really, the themes aren't even that dark comparatively. A lot of things. It's just shot and people treat it darker than it actually is. But that's a different thing. That I'll.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a whole different like conversation. But I do agree. Yeah, like I think we've kind of struggled to make Superman interesting. Like I said earlier, like we've had Injustice Superman, which is like, what if Superman but evil? And it's just like, is this really the best? And I remember, and I used to think too when I was younger. I like as an idiot, I used to think like, oh yeah, that is probably the way to make someone like Superman with his power set more interesting is like make him a villain. But like the truth is, no, that doesn't really help. And I would say, and I'm not trying to like disparage the Injustice storylines. I think those are good for the medium that they're working in, which is a video game and a comic book run. I'm like, those work great. But I think what a lot of moviegoers want right now is they want I'm trying to figure out, I almost want to say classic Superman, but I don't think that's quite right. I think people want a Superman and what he represents that is indicative of our times. And I think like if you ever look at like Superman's history, he's always kind of spoken. It's always been like a character that has spoken out about the ills of the times. I mean, you know, there were runs of Superman in like the 50s and such where his some of his main antagonists were the KKK. In no short terms, Superman was just outright like he's against racism, and he was deliberately fighting that. And I think we'll talk about it in the film, but like he's kind of supposed to be this catalyst of moral change and like, hey, we can't just stand by and let this shit happen. This is evil. And so having him like, it's not so much about waiting, like the song waiting for Superman to come save us. It's more about using Superman as an inspiration to instigate change.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
but kind of going back to what I was trying to say, like with the movie, is that it feels like what some of these like movie directors like Zack Snyder are trying to do to make him interesting is to make him like darker, but you don't necessarily need to make Superman an anti-hero to make him interesting, because that's something that I feel like this movie really gets with Superman, is that he wants to do good, he wants to do what's right, but he still has flaws, and he's still human like the rest of us. So I think people want a Superman they can kind of relate to in a way, and I think that this version of Superman kind of does that well. It's like he wants to do what he feels is right. He has a good moral compass, but sometimes that can kind of get the best of him, and he makes mistakes and handles situations in ways that weren't exactly the right answer, but it was what he felt like he needed to do.
Yeah, I feel like ever since there was the Injustice Superman, which I will also argue, I like that story, and I think that is an interesting story of what happens when the best among you are corrupted or like go that. But the problem is with that, you had that, and that's like the only story we've had, and have just been running with that with Injustice, and then The Boys, and then Invincible, and pretty much Zack Snyder's version of. We kind of got stuck with that version of Superman for so long with this like god complex that a lot of modern audience forgot like this is the parody world. This is the opposite world of this isn't what he's supposed to be. And I think like we kind of got stuck in like the limbo world for too long. And this is the first instance where it's like this is way more true to his proper character. Fun fact, Superman was originally created by Jewish immigrants, which is another big reason he's against the Klan, and also because they're evil. But yeah, it's it's kind of
All good
bringing him,
reasons.
bringing him back to like what it's supposed to be, and the reason that he is interesting, that you can even put Superman in a quote unquote dark world or have dark themes around him, but that's kind of the interesting thing about him, is that he stays positive and stays looking for the good in people and like, you know, truth, justice, and all that, even in a world that is like mean and cruel to him. The fact that his character doesn't change is what makes him interesting.
Yeah, it's like I feel like what some of these writers are thinking is that everybody knows who Superman is and what like he stands for. So they think, oh, let's try to change it up a little bit so people see something different. But I think they kind of miss the point when they do that sometimes.
Yeah, it's
'Cause like you said, people kind of went into the parody more than, you know, who he actually is.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I will say, and this is like such a deep, crazy internet thing. I don't expect you guys to know this video, but it got millions of views back in like when it came out, which was 2012, which is crazy. And I attribute this as, to me, the video that ruined Superman for me. So the director of Chronicle, or he would go, Chronicle had already come out at this time. Director of Chronicle, Max Landis, had, by the way, not a good dude. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. Anyway, Max Landis, after Chronicle had came out, he had made some YouTube videos. One of them was a very long, very skit-filled, like essay about the death of Superman comic book. And one of the things that always stuck out with me is like, he almost says it as a fact of like, no one thinks Superman is interesting. He was just the first superhero, so all his powers are very basic. He's very overpowered. No one thinks Superman is interesting. And a lot of that video, with a lot of really in poor taste, bad jokes, just kind of like deconstructs Superman. And I think whenever I watched that when I was really young, it gave me the impression of like, oh, I saw this thing and it means Superman is like, it's not till I've gotten on, as I gotten older and I've seen more really Superman fans talk out and speak about why Superman means so much to me, is when I started to realize, okay, I think I get it now. And I think the thing is, I think everyone needs that medium to be like, this is my Superman. I feel like in the 70s, people got the Richard Donner Superman, the live action movie with Christopher Reeve.
Yeah.
I think for some of us kids, like in like the 90s and early 2000s, we had the Superman animated series, and we also had Justice League Unlimited. Like that was their Superman.
Yeah.
That was probably the closest to mine, and I didn't really watch those shows religiously. So I definitely feel like I finally have a Superman that I feel like is my own. It's like, this is one that I really want to like take ownership of, because it's just like, it's the one that speaks to me more and to my generation.
Yeah. And I will say, you know, like to the more modern audience, I will always say this: I think Henry Cavill could have been a good Superman. I think could have been a great Superman. He has the look. He's definitely a very good actor. It's just unfortunate that his version, or like the kind of material he was given, he never really got the opportunity to do that. Like in his film, someone pointed this out to me of like, Superman is not Batman, and because Batman's a cop. And Batman works at the police. He's a detective. He finds and punishes criminals. That's not what Superman's a firefighter. And every single Superman comic revolves around him saving someone, getting a cat out of a burning building, you know, jumping in the way of like a train, picking someone up as like a thing's about to fall and moving them. Like, that's what Superman's character is. Like, on the whole, he's a firefighter. His job is to save people, not to punish the bad guy. That's Batman. And Henry Cavill's Superman never got the chance to really save anyone. His whole, like, Zack Snyder really just wanted Batman with superpowers, and that's kind of the one we got. And even you can see it if you go like to like the Man of Steel versions of just like, when he fights, he doesn't really care about, and a lot of people have been pointing this out, like when the movie came out, it's like he doesn't really care about all the buildings he's breaking and the people he's probably crushed, like by throwing a car at like a villain. It's like, that's not really people don't find Superman interesting because he can punch a thing good or throw a car well. And so I think Henry Cavill could have been a really good version of Superman, but he just never got the chance to do Superman type things.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you a lot on that. I think another common sentiment on the internet, and I 100% agree, is Henry Cavill in interviews is more like Superman than his actual portrayal of the character in the movies.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't he not have a lot of speaking lines in some of those movies either?
There's some sort of stat where like they say like he only had maybe in total the whole series, his run as Superman, is he maybe had like 30 lines of dialogue throughout everything. This is counting for Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Justice League, all the cameos. Like, I don't know how accurate that is, but it sounds about right, unfortunately.
Because you get to hear like this version of Superman. I forget the actor's name.
So you're very close. It's 42. It's 42 lines. That's insane for 4 movies, one of which he's the main character, and the other one he's the secondary main character.
Yeah, it's kind of messed up.
And I mean, and it's just like I think, I think we could definitely start into the movie, but I think it's where Gunn. I think that's what the primary difference is, that I think Gunn excels is. I'm not here to say Zack Snyder is an awful director or anything, but like I will say that like I think Gunn gets Superman in a way where it feels like Snyder was more fascinated about the powers aspect of Superman, where Gunn is more fascinated with the man part about Superman, about humanizing this person, where it's a story not about it's a story not about a man with exceptional powers. The story's not about his powers. The story is about a man with exceptional powers who values his humanity and what good he can bring to this world versus anything else.
Also, I do want to clarify. I'm looking it up now. That's 42 is inaccurate. That is 42 with Batman vs Superman and Justice League. In Man of Steel, he has 103 lines because he is the main character.
Okay.
That's 42.
That was a low number that was being thrown around. I thought it was like
But 42 is for Man of Steel and Justice, or the original Justice League, if you want to call it that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is still not a lot for being the main character of that one. Because you went from 103, and to be fair, like, you're sharing the spotlight now with someone else, but like all the way down to 42 is kind of crazy. Anyway, I wanted to clarify that because I looked 2 seconds longer. I was like, wait a minute, that's not accurate.
At least you're getting like the facts straight, so we appreciate that.
Yes.
Oh my god, yeah. But that does remind me that whenever we did do the fucking Zack Snyder Justice League cut, which was like 4 hours.
Yeah.
When we did that one of my favorite reviews, not one of my favorite watching experiences.
God. Everyone kept saying like, oh, well, the 4-hour version's like longer, and so like this is his true vision, and I'm just like, no, the fuck it wasn't. That wasn't his vision. You can't tell me that he is a seasoned director and thought, yeah, I'll get this 4-hour movie into theaters. That'll work. No, the fuck it won't. He was always gonna cut it. He was always gonna take things out. That's insanity to think that you would get that past producers and into theaters.
Yeah, this was definitely like the most like unhinged version of Zack Snyder, which I'm sure you're right. He probably would have actually, in all actuality, if he got to direct the Justice League movie, it would have not been nearly as long. But because I think they saw a want in the audience for some awful fucking reason, enough Snyder Bros were like, we want this full uncut abomination, and they're like, all right, we'll get it. You can have it, the whole fucking thing, and we fucking got it.
Jesus. That movie's wild. Watch our video on that whole movie to learn our thoughts about that. it's also on the YouTube page. But getting back to the actual movie at hand, to kind of wrap up the non-spoiler things about it, this movie is definitely good, and it is worth seeing. And it, even if you're not a Superman fan, but especially if you are one, if you are an actual like comic book Superman fan, or you grew up watching like the Justice League animated series, this is an actual representation of the character you like, and this is very much a love letter to like classic DC type fans. It's highly recommended. And one of my favorite things about this movie that this is not spoilers because it's technically not in the, I'm talking about something that's not in the movie, is it gets you right into it. We don't have to wait for Krypton to fucking blow up again. We don't have to do any of that. He's there. He's Superman. We're into the movie. We don't
need the big long origin story.
I don't need to watch.
A lot of people love.
Yeah, I don't need to. I think it was James Gunn that said this, where he said like, anytime people do a superhero movie now, the three things that will never be on screen again is Krypton blowing up, Batman's parents getting shot, and Uncle Ben dying. No one, or no, actually no, it was actually, I'm sorry, it wasn't Uncle Ben dying. It was Peter getting bitten by a spider. That he said everyone has seen that, and unless they don't make another superhero movie for another 10 years, we never need to see it again.
Is it I feel like a lot of these characters, people generally know what their deal is.
Yeah.
I feel like Batman, Superman especially, you kind of know their origin just out of like the cultural like zeitgeist.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of like the biggest strengths of like, it just gets you right into the movie and just is a really fun time in the theater and just like a really like feel good type movie. So yeah, I highly recommend it. I think on Letterboxd I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And it will probably, in terms of superhero movies, it'll probably be the best superhero movie that comes out this year.
Yeah, I think if I had to assign like a number to it, I would give it like an 8 out of 10.
That's pretty good.
Like I really enjoyed it. I don't think it's like the most special thing to me, but I did have a really good time with it, and I really liked a lot of the characterization in it.
Yeah, definitely. All right. And Seth, for you, any closing thoughts before we start talking about spoilers and going into the plot?
I will say that like just one thing is I really liked the movie on my first watch. I watched it with my girlfriend at a drive-in, and it was a great experience. We both really liked it. Even she, who didn't really seem to be all that much interested for the superhero hijinks stuff, also got pretty invested in it. We really enjoyed that film. But I felt like I really, not saying everybody has to do this, but I felt like I really, really got to appreciate the movie on my second viewing. One of my criticisms was like, just like, maybe the action scenes were not the most exciting in my opinion, except for one, which I'm sure we'll definitely talk about. Yep. But upon a second viewing, I actually got to appreciate more of the choreography on play with Superman, the way he fights. And I'll get more into it, but it's like, just the second viewing was so good, and I feel like I get that a lot with Gunn also. Is just like little jokes or lines of dialogue that I didn't catch the first time, or something, or like a action scene and the way it's plotted out, or like little bits of foreshadowing throughout the film. I think Gunn is he's just a super fun director, and his talents are very much on display here.
I definitely agree with that. He definitely does comic book movies well. And he is really strong about like finding the essence of a character and like displaying that. And there are definitely like certain characters, not just Superman, that he has so much appreciation for everyone that's on the screen and make sure everyone has exactly the amount of screen and has as much character as they need to. There's no forgotten roles in any of his movies, whether it's the Guardians or this.
Yeah, like something I think he had a really good balance with too was like kind of loving like, this is a comic book movie and still having like you can have your serious and you could have your comic like crazy stuff and have a good balance of it. I think he manages to pull that off like really well.
Yeah.
Cuz like he isn't afraid to be really silly with his stuff, and it doesn't have to be like very quippy or anything, but you get the point.
No, I definitely agree.
Yeah.
With that. All right.
I think we could start talking about the movie because I feel like those are definitely points we're going to
Yes.
be digging into.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so this is the mark in the video for you, the audience, and me, the editor, as this is where we will start getting into spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie yet, go watch it, come back, or if you don't care, hey, you're here already. But yes, we'll start talking about the movie, and I'm going to start this with, the cold open of this of it's the exact same scene from the trailer. He gets launched into the snow, and we're introduced to what is possibly the worst pet that has ever been put on film, but you love him so much. Is the depiction of Crypto the super dog just being an absolute menace, not just in this opening, but the entire film, just breaking things, just being a nuisance.
He's a very bad dog.
He's a very bad dog, but he's really cute. He's fucking adorable. And fun fact, modeled after Ozu, James Gunn's own dog, which is really cute.
That's cute.
And even kind of like James Gunn seems like the inspiration with Crypto was when like the first week they got Ozu broke his laptop, like knocked it over, and just kind of like sat there. Like when he found Ozu with the broken laptop and then chasing his own tail. And he's like, yeah, that's Crypto right there. I think this is great, and I think this is such a smart idea for like what really is like a very silly, like Silver Age like character of like, how do we make Superman more interesting? Give him a dog, and the dog has all the same powers. Like, it's a very like kind of dumb concept that definitely like Crypto would never show up in a more serious and brooding type of Superman story. But I love that Gunn takes that idea and be like, what would that look realistically? A dog with, the strength of a god essentially, and like very little self-control. So I love that Crypto is involved in this movie, and I think his relationship with Superman and even Superman's line of like, when Lois is like, you're gonna go like turn yourself in for a dog, and he responds like, yeah, he's not even a good dog, but he's scared and he needs someone. And I think that does so much for like showing like this just force of nature, but he's cute. And also even Superman's character, where like he doesn't even like the dog, but he's still gonna sacrifice himself pretty much and put himself to get
So Crypto's still like a living being at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And Superman cares for all living beings the same.
Yeah. Whether you're Crypto the super dog or a little squirrel. Which I love that there's a scene where he saves the squirrel from the monster. That's like my favorite
God, I
scene.
love that scene, but
I
we'll
love it.
talk about that when we get to it.
Yeah. What are your guys' thoughts on Crypto the super dog, Seth?
Wow, we're gonna start with that.
He's the opening of the film. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, heck, it's great. I think ever since the trailers, I always love that concept of, it's like, oh yeah, I'm surprised we've never really touched on this before with Crypto, is that like, there's not a lot of things that can hurt Superman. There's not a lot of things on his power level, but weirdly enough, it's like, oh yeah, the one thing that can actually really hurt Superman is another Kryptonian, which is what Crypto is. Yeah. So it's almost funny that it's never been touched on before to me. I loved it. I love the opening. I love dogs. I love Crypto's mannerisms. They obviously know that so right. I like how even the trailer really undersold like how long that sequence takes. Where like Superman's like, Crypto home, and then like Crypto obviously doesn't understand the gravity of the situation. He's still running around. It's like, oh, it's still playtime. I'm gonna bite at his feet and jump on him, and it's incredible. I love it, and I think it's just another thing that points out Gunn's strength, which is taking where, and I think he's on the right track, where instead of comic book movies trying to shy away from what is weird in those comic books, I think embracing the inherent zaniness on it really does work for a film a lot of times. I think that really works for Superman, especially. Superman is a more like optimistic kind of hero who a lot of his villains are, and a lot of his villains and cast of characters are aliens and all kinds of like weird bullshit. Definitely nothing like Batman's, which half of them are just like psychopaths with some sort of mutation.
Yeah.
So I think like Gunn just fully leaning into that tone of like, just like right off from the get go, it's like, we're here to have a good time. We're here to have fun. Yes, Crypto the Superdog is in it and actually a big part of the plot. So I really did like him. I did know that he was CGI. You could definitely tell with the way he moves and stuff like that,
Yeah.
which is fine. I don't have an issue with it. I had no idea, though, the dog was entirely CGI, which does make it kind of impressive to me, because I was at least sure there was a couple of scenes where it's like, okay, there's the actual dog as like sitting there, and then whenever they do like the flying bits or whatever, that's whenever they do switch in like the CGI dog. So I was actually pretty impressed with it, with the effects on him.
See, I didn't actually realize he was CG. Besides, like the flying shots and all that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think they had the base model of James Gunn's dog, which if you actually look at the dog, you're like, oh yeah, that's just Crypto, but an actual color of a real dog. Like, so in real, it's Ozu painted white. So what they did, they had Ozu sit there, not on set on the day, but like essentially in a green room, so that they could actually model how a dog would move, like breathe, tilt his ear up, and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, the flying is, you just got to make that up, unless you just throw the dog really hard. But they kind of had the base model of a real dog, and then were able to like physically put him in. And yeah, I agree. Like when it's sitting there, or like when it's nipping at his heels, it looks great. Some of the flying stuff is like, it's not awful. It's okay, but it is like kind of very like meh-ish. It's not the greatest effect, but really like there's not too many. There's not too many scenes of like Crypto flying around. It's mainly Superman, which him flying around looks great. Like even like going from that opening scene, even when he flies back to Metropolis, looks great. Every flying thing with him like looks really cool, with like the cape flowing in the background. And one of the things I love about him is he has like the most perfect hair for Superman, mainly because like that's just his normal hair slicked back, and then when you let it go, he even said in interviews like it just naturally curls, like, so he just has the Superman curl in real life, which is great.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah. So I think for the most part, like the flying stuff really works when he's doing it, and it looks great with him.
Yeah. So before we go into the flying stuff, I just want to point out I really like how the movie opens with like its exposition. It's like the 3
Yeah.
centuries ago,
Yeah.
super or metahumans. 3 decades ago, he crashed on the planet. 3 years ago, he like announced himself as Superman.
Yeah.
3 minutes ago, he lost his first fight. I really
Crash.
thought that was like a good way to kind of introduce the film.
Yeah.
You see him like
Yeah.
crashing into the snow.
Yeah,
It's
like
a good way
narrow-
to kind of immediately build interest in what's going on.
Yeah, taking like the typical kind of stuff that we know about, like how opening crawls are using, and then like using it to really narrow down the time, like shorter and shorter. Yeah, that was just like an incredible intro. Also, like once again, like I wouldn't say I'm glad I avoided some of the trailers at a certain point for this movie, but I will say, based on the trailers, I think a lot of us assumed that like the part where Superman would basically be knocked to like Antarctica and has to get to the Fortress of Solitude. I think a lot of us assumed this would be the halfway point of the movie. So
Yeah.
ballsy to be like, oh, this is the start. We're getting right into it. We're
Yeah.
not wasting our time with like like Drew said, no origin story or anything like this. This is a established Superman in an established world. You know what the deal is now. So
You get
I
all the
really-
context you need to know within the first like 30 seconds.
Yeah. It's Superman. He has all of his gadgets. He has his fortress. You know where he lives. You know what his day job is. He has a dog. That's a nightmare we're doing a Superman story. Like it feels like you went to a comic book store and just picked up a random issue, because not every issue, other than like the first one, will explain where he came from. It's just you just picked up a random comic book, and it just starts somewhere, and that's where we are.
You know the deal. You know the drill here.
Yeah, I think that's great. I love that. And going from that like opening scene to the great flying scene, from there we're introduced to the rest of his cast, all like the side characters and everything. So I think it's a great moment to start talking about them. Of the first one that we're introduced, with the exception of the robots, the first other character we meet is kind of the biggest star, or the person with the most star power in this, is Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, who, I'm just going to go out and say it, this is my favorite version of Lex Luthor. By far. He is great. He is conniving. He is evil. And just, I love his pettiness. I love his reasoning for hating Superman and how like they explain it in this movie. It's phenomenal in this, and I think it's such a good performance, and definitely the standout performance for me in this film is Nicholas Hoult.
Oh yeah, definitely the villain that you love to hate. And yeah, and once again, maybe not the most competition, because I would say like the only one that people would probably actually defend is maybe like Gene Hackman from like the Donner films,
And
which
the
is
animated one.
well, I'm thinking more in terms of like the of like just like the film stuff too. But yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would have to rewatch some of that other stuff too. But I could definitely speak to at least to. I feel like for the live action stuff, like, oh yeah, I definitely think he is great in this. Definitely better. I feel like definitely better than someone like Kevin Spacey, and definitely not a miscast like Jesse Eisenberg was.
God, what a weird fucking pick for Lex Luthor. This is just a whiny little kid.
Yeah, and you know what's weird is like I actually feel like watching Nicholas Hoult is like Nicholas Hoult doesn't necessarily have the face or stature that you would think of as Lex Luthor.
Nah.
It does make me think that like Jesse Eisenberg is a good actor. I feel like he probably could have been a good Lex Luthor, but once again, it's a failure of scripting, I think, rather than the actual actor himself. Because for some reason, Zack Snyder felt compelled, like, we're gonna make Lex Luthor more like the Joker than Lex Luthor, which is a very odd choice. Yeah, and the more I'm convinced of it, the more I feel like, God, I think Zack Snyder wanted to make a Batman movie, but he kept getting roped into Superman
I've said this all the time. He was trying to turn everyone to Batman, and he had this very dark and brooding Superman. Just even look at the costumes. All the colors on Superman. His colors are red and blue. Like bright red and blue with maybe accents of like yellow, and somehow you took that version and muted everything before you even gave him the black suit. They rushed so fast to get his Superman all black, and even his
This is petty of me, but I also don't like the S in the Snyder Superman.
Yeah. I think he was trying to make it look more alien, which is kind of I feel like that's kind of the problem of like the way, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to sit here to just criticize Zack Snyder on all his work, but I will say that like that once again, that's another thing where like I think a lot of fans of Superman will talk about there's two sides of Superman. You have the human and you have the alien, and it feels like and most of them seem to agree that they prefer talk about Superman as the human, or because he was raised by the kids, versus like Superman as an alien. Because like I agree with that. I much prefer like the S here. It has a very classic feel. Even the opening title card is very like reminiscent of like the way they use the rays and coronas of color, and like the Superman logo flashing on as the opening of the Donner Superman. Trust me, I'm telling you the truth. I have actually not seen that movie. I just know I just know what the intro looks like.
It's actually a good movie. It's worth watching. It's actually really impressive how they did a lot of that stuff back in the day. It's I actually really like the Donner Supermans. They're quite good. The first two are quite good. But yeah, man, the costume is just so much better in this one. I love even though he has like the S on the cape, like the little gold S on his back. Looks great. But yeah, get into this version of Lex. I love it that you buy that, like, oh, this is a really. I love his plan in this, and I'm gonna kind of be jumping around here, which, you know, you've seen the movie, so I think that's fine if we kind of go a little out of order. But just talking about this character specifically, of like, I love the whole plan of, you think, and the movie sets it up like, oh, his whole plan is so that he can be like king of this like foreign country, and he set up this conflict so to get Superman out of the way, and then everyone thinks they've gotten like the big reveal of like, oh, we figured out Lex's plan. He's doing all this to be king. And he's like, no, I had this conflict made to kill you. I didn't kill you to continue the conflict. It's the other way around. And I just love how petty and how hateful he is in you just get the sense that he is just a man on a mission of just like the entire world can burn as long as Superman is there with it. And this level of hate hasn't been seen since Kendrick Lamar called Drake a PDF file in front of national television. Like, this man despises this other individual. And
what I like about this version of Lex too, kind of adding onto that it's like he's cartoonishly evil, but it doesn't like take you out of the film. Like, it just fits really well.
Yeah. You buy why he would hate, and I even love more behind the scenes stuff of the direction that Gunn gave Nicholas Hoult. Was like, Lex Luthor views Superman like how artists view AI art. Like, this idea that your existence lowers mine because you're super and we can't get to you. That means no matter what we do, we're inferior, and, you know, we will become a weaker species because you are physically here and doing this stuff. And that's such a smart, like, and this is not the first version of Lex Luthor to do that. Like, they've been doing that in the comics forever. But I think this is the best on-screen representation of why Lex Luthor hates Superman. Like, yes, he's very cartoony and very over the top, and how much he does and all like this elaborate stuff. But when he actually explains the reason he hates him, you're like, you know, I kind of get it. Like, you kind of understand. He's definitely taking it to an extreme that no one would, but like, you get how he got there. It's not just something as simple as like, oh, I just want money, or I just want power, or I'm just a crazy guy and I just like doing crazy things. Like, no, you see the logic in how he went from, like, you know, just regular billionaire to, I'm devoting every single cent and dollar I have to killing the strongest man in the world. And I think that's great. Seth, what are your thoughts on Lex?
I definitely think this is the part where I might disagree with you on, is like, I don't know if I quite buy into that as like his. How about this? It's like, it's not so much I don't agree with your motivation, like what you say his motivation is. It's more like, I don't necessarily like. I know what he says, and he talks about how, like, Superman's a danger to humanity. I think to a degree, yes, Lex believes it, but I don't know. There was never a point in this movie where I ever empathized remotely with Lex Luthor.
I don't know if empathy is the right word for it. I just more mean, well, I understand.
The thing. Well, no, and that's the thing, is like, I don't, because I feel like the whole film, and even Lex seems to be conscious of this to a degree, is it feels more like this is an ego thing. I think back to, like, when he's in the Fortress of Solitude, and he's like, Superman. He's not even a man. He's an it. And then, like, the thing that frustrates him more, based on that conversation he kind of has with himself, is it's like, it's not even the fact that, like, he's super. Well, it is part of the fact that he's super, because he says, like, he hates all meta-humans, but he's the absolute worst of them. But he says that the way he kind of says is like, the fact that he's dominating the conversation. And then later on, Wade talks about, he feels a little like tide of vomit in the back of his throat when he hears his name reference along the names of like Isaac Newton or Galileo.
Yeah.
But he feels like at least they were human. At least they kind of like earned their spot, which to him, Superman didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like so much of this is like Lex says this is because of for the protection of humanity, which he might believe in, but I feel like so much of it is so much that this is just like ego. This is his like full on narcissism at play.
Well,
I even feel like Superman calls it out where it's just like, you've always been envious of me, Lex, and he basically like, yeah, absolutely. He actually agrees with Superman. It's like yeah, duh, I know I'm driven by my envy. And that's when he launches into a speech about like Superman's existence basically undercuts the rest of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's the same. I think those are I don't think it has to be this or that. I think both of our points are true. I think it's both.
Yeah.
I think it is envy and jealousy, and he views it as like almost like Superman's cheating in a way because he was born like that, and he's like that because he's on this planet.
Yeah, and I'll be frank, and a lot of it is also another thing. And what I'm going to say next is me definitely inserting my political views into this. But to me, he is indicative of a person like an Elon Musk, where it is just someone who has an insane amount of wealth and stuff like that, but is still not enough. It is more, he needs to be worshipped. He needs to be, his quote unquote genius needs to be recognized. And I feel like, whereas once we might have seen people like this as like cartoonishly evil, it's like actually we have like plenty of people like that in the world right now, where they are just like so wrapped up in like their egos and that they have to like posture and be bigger than everyone else, and they just cannot stand it when someone else is being talked about them other than themselves. Like I said, not saying that's what the film is going for, but I mean, the best way I could describe like Lex Luthor is he is a tech bro CEO, which I fucking hate every fiber of my being. So yes, I will admit I'm probably projecting a lot of my own biases of why I hate Lex Luthor, but I also don't feel like it's entirely unjustified.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's good evidence that because there's one throwaway line that's really good for him, but when I mean really good, like just makes you hate him. Is at one point Superman's like, you're always so obsessed with me, like when he first captured, he's like, no, you're not really my type. I don't go for like tall dark hair and Martian. And Superman's like, I'm Kryptonian. He's like, same difference. Just shows like he just doesn't really care about anything that's not himself, like if it's extraterrestrial or alien, like he doesn't really give a damn of what it is. And there's even like there's some hint, like a lot of people have pointed out, it's like that's very like a lot of hints of like racism, and it's like a very just throwaway line. But I love how he's just obsessed with his own, like he refuses to see Superman as human, which is like a lot of point. Even like the final speech is like that, and the best like kind of moment to encapsulate how he views Superman is after a very certain scene, which I will definitely get into. He's like, oh, well, maybe I'll go find that reporter you like, Clark Kent, and kill Clark Kent. Just to show, like, he's so egotistical that he can't even comprehend that Superman has a secret identity, or Superman is human and tries to be human, that he doesn't even see that, like, oh, maybe this Clark Kent that he keeps having secret meetings with and has never been seen in the same room with is Superman. And just show like he's so blindsided by his own evil, he doesn't even care, or like could never comprehend that a weak-minded journalist is this guy, like the superpowered being.
It reminds me a lot of like what's funny is, and I'm not saying this is the exact same kind of depiction of Superman, but I believe it's from I remember seeing this in the animated movie, and also it's based on the comic book run called All-Star Superman. And there's a scene where basically like Clark Kent, basically, Superman in disguise, is with Lex Luthor, and he's with them, and he's basically protecting Lex Luthor as he's breaking out of prison, because he's like, for story reasons. And what's funny is like, in a weird, very demeaning kind of way, it does seem to show that Lex Luthor actually likes Clark Kent. And he says he says a lot of things. It's like, oh, you're actually humble and stuff, unlike Superman. But basically, what's funny is like, Clark isn't really like, I mean, yes, he still acted like Clark, so he's acting a little bit more buffoonish and a little bit more silly than as Superman. But he's still showing the same level of kindness and all this as he does as Superman. And it's just like Lex actually, in his own weird way, he actually shows that he does like Clark.
Yeah.
Which is funny. It's just like, if you could like look past the part where you're so fixated on him being a superpowered alien, you would see that you two actually would maybe potentially get along.
Yeah.
It also gets to one of my favorite parts, and just talking about All-Star Superman, and hopefully in some ways I would actually like to see them adapt this scene into the comic books. It's where towards the end of the story, Superman is like really kind of like basically dying, and Lex Luthor does get Superman's powers temporarily, and he basically gets to see the world for a moment as Superman sees it. And then whenever he loses powers, like, no, I could have like done so much. I could have saved everyone. And then Superman just says, like, Lex, if you actually cared about saving the world, you would have done it a long time ago. Because Superman acknowledges he's the smartest man in the world. And it's just like, but he wastes his gifts on being selfish.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I'll even say, like, David Cornswet has even referenced All-Star Superman and been like, that has been like his biggest inspiration going into this film. So I would not be surprised if they kind of take that storyline and like maybe in future installments show it more, because like, yeah, you're right, that does capture so much of just like this could work and there could be so much good to be done, but there's just level of just like bigotry and ego that just clouds his vision and doesn't let him see past the fact that Superman was not born on this planet. And that fact alone just stops him from doing anything.
I agree.
The last thing I'll talk about, just because this is kind of the part where we're just doing everything Lex Luthor, so I really want to just go on this, of my favorite scene in the entire thing, and I'm skipping ahead, in the story, I know, towards like the middle point, is the moment Superman's captured, he's stuck in the thing, and earlier in the film, we met this dude who just runs like a food stand and gave Superman food for free, and Superman loved it and was nice to the guy. Lex took that guy, hauled a gun to his head to interrogate him because he knows Superman just cares about everyone, and he's like, this is a random stranger he met, but he'll still do what I tell him, and plays Russian roulette with him, but loses on the second go. That was the most shocking moment of the film, and that scene right there, it's even like, I don't even know if I want to say played for laughs, but like, it's such dark humor where like Lex even goes like, oh well, shoot, that was supposed to be longer than I thought. That scene is way darker, is way more impactful, and shows Lex as a more interesting and like more fearsome villain than any scene Zack Snyder did in his entire run. That's darker than anything he did with like his future version, anything Batman did, anything in his film. The bright, colorful, like feel-good Superman movie has the way like more sinister tone, because there's this scene of just like such lack of humanity and just such hatred in every line he says, as he just shoots a complete innocent man who, and what crazy me about, I didn't even notice this until like I saw this online after my first viewing of, in that scene, this guy, he was saying like, don't tell him anything, Superman, I don't have a family, I don't matter, it doesn't matter. He's lying. He does have a family. At the beginning of the film, you see his dad, and he says, hey dad, can you watch the stand for me, as he goes and tries to help Superman up out of a crater. So he's lying to Superman, so Superman will feel less bad about him getting shot because he knows he's gonna die in front of his hero. And just that scene's just so well done and just encapsulate like how fucking menacing this character is. And then immediately after, just kind of almost lowers him or shows just how blinded he is by his hatred of saying like, oh, he's also he still doesn't know that Clark Kent's Superman. And yeah, I think that's like one of like the most well done scenes in the movie. It just shows how much we should hate this character of Lex Luthor.
Yeah, no, that was a really good. Yeah, I agree. That was a really good, shocking scene. I think a lot of us like, you know, you hear it all the time, and it's kind of like a meme at this point. But like subverting expectations, and I think Gunn knows just the right ways of getting the scene to play out. Generally, the way probably audiences think it will, but like the suddenness of like being like, oh, like just the very second shot. Yeah, I agree.
Because normally it'd be like, oh, it's like the third or very like all the way to the sixth shot or something. Like usually this would go on way longer, but no, in a 1 in 6 chance, there's a very high likelihood that it's gonna be the second one, or just as much likely it's gonna be that one as the first one.
Yeah. And I really like that. I think probably if we're talking about our favorite scenes with Luthor, and I think that's a really good one. I'd probably say that one is probably also like my favorite one too. I mean, just in general, like anything, I really like his like his sort of like "why I hate you" speech to Superman was also like really good too during that final fight between him and Ultraman. Hashtag not my Ultraman.
We'll get to him. To me, that's one of the weaker things in the film, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. But like, I mean, I think I agree. I think Luthor is just like I said, I think Nicholas Hoult is great throughout this film. I think in general, I'll speak more generally, where like I just feel like the casting in this film was just so spot on with everything, and we'll probably get into it more later, but I think the last thing I'll say is I feel like this film had such good use of every single character. You talk about Malik, the falafel shop owner. I think like even he who only had 2 scenes in the movie was great. And I think Gunn is just so good. I mean, I say just Gunn, but you know what? It should be just the whole team in general. Though everybody did just a great job of just like making sure that there wasn't like a wasted character in this film. I feel like even the side characters add so much to this. I don't want to have to dig into it too much, but like one side character that always sticks out in my mind is every time that little boy with like the Superman flag showed up, made me like want to cry. And it's so well done. So like it's hard for me to think of another movie where no character felt wasted, you know, like it's really difficult for me to think on that.
All right. Well, what you think on that, Robert? Do you have a favorite scene with Lex Luthor, as we're kind of focusing on our main villain right now?
I don't know if there's like a particular scene of Lex's that I'm like, man, this is like the best scene with him. But I'm just remembering like there's like a transition early in the movie when he's like going between like the Pocket Universe to like his hideout from, I think, was it from the Fortress of Solitude?
His is from the foreign country to his lab. Well,
okay,
there were 3 locations.
I remember that shot a lot.
Yeah.
Because the way it's shot almost makes it look like you're going from the room, like a room transition in like Super Metroid.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I just really like how that shot came out.
Yeah, I think that's like the I'm definitely trying to remember it now. The like it's the at the moment we think he's the Hammer of Bavaria. I think like that shot specifically, the one shot like side profile.
Yeah.
Is like Hammer Bavaria lands at like that little fort area that's fort. It's basically a fucking beach. It's like a little beach camp.
That's where it was.
Where the Hammer Bavaria lands, and like you get that side profile shot of him walking through the portal, going into the pocket dimension, and coming out at like Lex Luthor's tower, which I really like. And I talked about this with Drew before off podcast, but I really like how they're able to like just quickly establish like how technologically equipped and smart Lex is, just by basically right from the get-go, just like, yes, Lex has teleportation and pocket dimensions. He just has that shit.
Yeah.
And
already.
it's not very stable because, of course, he doesn't care if it's stable or not if it gets results.
Yeah,
Exactly, yeah.
No, that's great. Yeah, Lex is such a standout for me personally. I think he's one of the best parts of this movie. But that's a little. We started at the beginning and kind of went on the side, but the other kind of big characters we meet in this thing is we meet the rest of the Daily Planet, which this might be one of my favorite interpretations of journalism in a film, because I'm very critical of anytime they show media, like news media, in TV and movies, because a lot of people, because movie stars and directors, they have to deal with paparazzi, and those aren't real journalists. So a lot of people, like, there's not a lot of great representations of good journalism in a lot of like shows and movies and stuff. And anytime there are, they're always like, I'm an internet blogger, or I'm TikTok fame, or like, you know, I'm a social media like influencer type person. This time, like, we actually like, no, this is like a actual proper like newsroom with like very smart and competent people. And so I love the depiction of the Daily Planet in this. I love that they also went back like, yep, we got the giant globe too, because why not? And it looks great. And I was saying earlier, this is my favorite interpretation of Lex. This also might be my favorite interpretation of Lois Lane. She's great.
She was probably one of my favorite characters in that movie.
She's such a
honestly.
good stand-in. And also breaks the trope of at no point does she ever get kidnapped or need rescuing in this movie. Like, they don't do that in this, where she's like on top of a building and she falls and Superman has to catch her, and she gets captured and used as a hostage by the bad guy. Like, no, they're not doing that here.
They clearly respect her a lot in this movie.
Yeah, and that's great. And you fall in love with her instantly, because the first scene you're with her, she's like, wait, can I actually interview you? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I'm not gonna go easy. He's like, I'll figure it out, and just grills into him. Not even.
That's
like,
honestly one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie.
It's so good, and it's so smart to start with essentially like a 12-minute talking scene. It doesn't start with it, but you know what I mean. Like, very early on, have a 12-minute just two characters talking, and you get so much of how their dynamic works, how long they've been together.
See, their relationship is really natural and believable, and like it shows how much chemistry they have, like how back and forth they are through that whole discussion.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's like she's not doing it to like belittle him or anything. She's like challenging him, but she's not like saying you're stupid for this or anything.
Exactly. Like, she's asking difficult questions, but not even doing it in a like disrespectful, like, she's not saying you're an idiot for doing this, or, you know, why did you do it? Like, explain yourself. And he's even like, but you know why? Like, because this person's like, I'm a journalist. You have to tell me. She's so good in this. And I think it was like that. It was this early on. It was that moment also where I realized, oh wow, this is way better than Henry Cavill already. Like, I think that's like the 20-minute mark in the movie, maybe even that. And I was like, this is already better, because our two main characters, even though there's a scene where they're fighting with each other, they actually have chemistry with each other. Versus, I don't remember any time I thought Henry Cavill and Amy Adams had any kind of chemistry in any of the movies.
Yeah, I will say that it did feel like in the like Man of Steel and all that, it's just like just buy that they love each other because we told you to.
Yeah, exactly. This feels like a relationship.
I agree. That's definitely one of my favorite. It's also because of like, I also have like a background in journalism. And both me and my girlfriend appreciated like how accurate like a lot of this particular scene.
Yeah.
It like in terms of like journalism, I do like the one. Yes, Superman, Clark Kent, and Lois Lane have like very natural like chemistry with each other, which works really well with the film. I do like the little thing where it's just like he's like, oh man, Jimmy Olsen, he was really eating up like our little back and forth, and it just like, and she's like, it wasn't all made up.
Yeah, it's like that was true.
Yeah, it's like I wasn't joking about the whole like you can't. It's just like you can't interview yourself. I like how much of like where you get like the ethics of like how basically Lois is like running Clark through it, giving him the ethics of journalism 101, where it's just like that's off the. It's just like you can't say that. That's like that's off the record. It's like, well, you have to say that before.
Yeah.
I love like the back and forth. I love the scene for so many different reasons. One, I think it just shows off the natural chemistry between these two leads. I also love that like it brings in the Superman question of like, okay, we have like a world like just because Superman does have like the powers to do this to stop a war, should he actually be allowed to do that? Like have that like kind of power?
Yeah, it's a great question of just because you could doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, but I feel like, and we'll get into why I think this, but I feel like I think it pushes a little bit back against that notion a little bit, in a very smart way. But going back to it, like I just love the way I kind of read into the film almost with like Clark and Lois's relationship is that like I kind of view Clark and Lois's relationship as a sort of like microcosm of like the world and its relationship with like Superman. Superman is Superman. He has his morals and what he's trying to do for the world. And then the world is like, well, this is a lot more complicated than that. Or at least it believes that. And it's like, is this really all that more complicating that? Or are you intentionally making this more complicated so that you can't like just solve a lot of these problems? I think there's a lot of back and forth that's like really interesting about it. I agree. It's one of my like favorite scenes. I'm trying to figure out like how best to phrase this because it's like I think the film is like showing how like also Superman can like bring out a lot of like I talked about it at the top of the show where I think so much of this is about Superman bringing out that change and that goodness in people to take action, to do something. And I think you do see that like with Lois. She kind of hints at like, hey, I'm not good with relationships. I'm not sure I can make this work. We'll probably talk about it, but there's a very funny conversation with her where whenever like things are getting like a bit more real with like Clark, she's like kind of yapping to Mr. Terrific. Was just like, I was gonna break up with him, and he's just and this is after Mr. Terrific already told her just like, I don't do emotions.
She's just still talking. He just the side eyed.
Yeah, but like I feel like you do see like a part of like Lois like become more open and accepting of him. The other scene that I really like with him and her is like the apartment scene where Clark is about to go and give himself up to find Krypto. And she says the problem with you, Clark, is that you trust everybody. I said it wrong. She says, I believe that everybody is lying and you believe that everyone is good and beautiful. And Clark just responds with like, maybe that's the real punk rock. And I'm like, I feel like so much of that is the thesis of this film.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful to me. I fucking love it so much. So like,
I will actually. I'm gonna use that. Go ahead. I'm gonna use that as also a transition because in every one of James Gunn's movies, music is such a big thing, and that line because I love music, I love punk music, and I love all this, and so that line hits so hard for me. in particular because the whole idea of punk rock is the not popular opinion, the going against the natural state of the world to like be Leo, to be different. And that seems great because it, you know, gets Clark saying like, I'm now the like being positive and believing the world is good is now the minority opinion. Everyone is so skeptical. Now the punk, the anarchist, the non-popular belief is to believe that the world is good. And I love that so much, and it's encapsulated so well in not just like that scene, but like all the music that's different. The score in here is great. They use this old Superman theme, and the in credit scene is like so fucking perfect for that message of the like, I'm a punk rocker, yes I am, but it's a very happy and upbeat kind of song, and it fits the theme of this movie of being, you know, despite the entire world saying that the world is gray and that you can't just do good and you have to like live, but like, no, be the anarchist and be good, be the good change, have the minority opinion if the minority opinion is I want to be positive in this world. And also, if you need more songs like that, I would highly recommend. I don't know if either of you guys use Spotify for your music, or do you use Apple Music?
I use YouTube Music.
All right. And so I'm pretty sure you don't use Spotify, right?
No.
I
it's
use
tough.
yeah. I use a little bit of different services. Yeah.
If you do use Spotify, and this is also a thing to anyone who's still listening, I highly recommend just going to Spotify and just look up Superman playlist. And what James Gunn has done is made a playlist for every single major character. And these are not songs that are in the film. These are like different one, like, and it's the first one where it'll be Superman official playlist. Whatever character pops up is like the character that you most listen, like that is most similar to you in music taste. Mine's Mr. Terrific, which is great, even though I'm pretty sure I'm more like Clark Kent when I listen to the actual album, but I'm not gonna complain about it. And I think this just shows me so much how much Gunn understands these characters and relates them to music. And if you really want to get into more of the headspace of these characters, that their albums really show off. Like Clark Kent's, it's a lot of like kind of more soft rock and very upbeat things. It has one of my favorite songs in the world, The Middle by Jimmy Eat World, where it's like, yeah, it's a lot of heavy guitar, but it's a very positive, like the main message of the song is you're gonna be okay, everything's all right. And I think that great. Lois has a lot of like anti, like kind of capitalists and like actual punk on her playlist. Every single song on Jimmy's playlist is about either cheating or having multiple partners, which I find funny. Guy Gardner has a lot of dad rock in it. It's great, and I think that is like my favorite message about the film, and like these little playlists that he didn't have to do this was a marketing thing, but it shows how much like he understands these characters and how much he like relates music to these characters. And I think that message of maybe I am the new punk rock really speaks true to the message of this film and the message of Superman, period, of like, you can always be the good guy. You know, you can always, which is such a simple message, but something that, you know, a lot of people don't realize today of it's okay to be positive. It's okay to be optimistic. And that's great. So that's my little spiel about music there for a minute. And why I also love that scene with that conversation with him and Lois.
Oh,
yeah, I think it's really cool how he incorporated music. So the playlist thing is also really cool. I didn't know he did that.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, I had noticed that when I've been browsing around. But yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. So when you look up Spotify, I know you said you only use it like half as much. What do you have a character that pops up for you first?
I don't think I've really looked into that yet, the specific like character looking. I'm mostly just I already know the songs I want to listen to, so I kind of already just look those up directly.
Would you do?
I haven't really done a lot of browsing in Spotify, I guess. So I don't think I really see that a lot. I did get Punk Rocker featuring Iggy Pop by the Teddy Bears. I did find that song and specifically added it to like, okay, I want this in my library because I do really like this song. And I did see that was part of like the Superman official soundtrack or whatever on Spotify, which I thought was neat. But I didn't really dig any further than that. So I didn't know that there was like ways that like it can actually, I guess, like you say, curate it so that like it's about like the character that represents you. It's like, okay, that's cool.
I would say, would you do me a favor? I don't think this will work with Robert because you don't have Spotify. So do me a favor and just, if you have Spotify open right now, go into the search thing and just search Superman playlist and just see who the first person to pop up. Because I'm kind of more genuinely curious.
Okay, I could look it up.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I tried looking up Superman on like YouTube Music, and they didn't do anything like that.
Yeah, I think it's specifically a brand thing with Spotify, which is a cool thing they do. But yeah, I don't think it works with that or Apple. Yes.
So like, how am I supposed to like
go into open Spotify and
I searched it, but like what do you mean? Like, do I just like the first search thing is like?
So you should see, if you select up Superman playlist, it should say Superman official playlist is the first thing that pops up. Who is that character in the profile in your thing?
Oh, so it's actually Hawk Girl, which is awesome. I fucking love that.
That's great. Yeah. So mine's Mr. Terrific. So like you pretty much, that means you listen to a lot of the same music Hawk Girl would. That's kind of how that works. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, which is cool. Another friend, one of my friends, Dylan, got Lex, which Lex is one of the playlists I haven't listened to yet, so I'm very curious. Like, what music does Lex listen to? I feel
like it's got to be like a lot, it's got to be like a bunch of classical, right? Like that's what I imagine like Lex listening to.
It's Requiem for You know, it is a lot of classical, and also, but there are like couple modern things, but a lot of things I don't listen to. Anyway, I just think that's really fun and like it's a fun little like thing to experiment with if you do use Spotify. I don't know. I don't think it'd work for somebody who's never opened the app before.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that makes sense. If Hawk Girl listens to a lot of MF Doom and Massive Fermenting Dregs, hey, I'm with her there on that.
You know, cool. Ironically, Mr. Terrific, one of his songs is an MF Doom song. So I'm kind of surprised.
Which one?
Let me look it up. I just had it. But while we're kind of talking about the side characters, I'm killing it with the transitions today.
Yeah.
Will, all caps.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I like that a lot.
But while we're talking about, we'll skip ahead in the movie because fight scene, yada yada, main plot, character development, yada yada. We get to kind of a scene where we're introduced to the wider world of like the metahumans. There's kind of a big threat that is occupying Superman's time while Lex goes to the fortress. And this is our first introduction to the rest of the Justice Gang. And we've already talked a little bit about Hawk Girl and Mr. Terrific and the worst hairline that's ever been put on to film of Guy Gardner, played by...
Oh my god, he's got a fucking bowl cut.
And played by one of my favorite actors of Nathan Fillion. And I love how terrible it is. Because they even said, they were like, if we're doing Guy Gardner, we are giving him the worst haircut ever. Because if we don't, people will get mad and say it should have been worse.
Also, it is like very in line with Gunn, because he always seems to love to like, a little bit torture his actors a little, and he's always worked with Nathan Fillion a bunch. So of course he would basically be like, "I'm gonna put you in the stupidest fucking wig you've ever seen in your life."
Because if you look at all of like Nathan's roles with Gunn's, he's done a million things with them. Because I think Gunn was a producer on Firefly. And that might be how they met, or if it was one of those shows. But like he was like armed detach man in Gunn's Suicide Squad, and then in And then in
Guardians 3, he was
Gar-
like the one of the prison
yeah,
captains
but he
or
was in this
whatever.
weird giant like flesh suit that looked really dumb, and then now they put him in like the dumbest haircut possible. So he just loves torturing his friend.
I respect it.
I love that. But no, I mean I think this is a great Justice Gang, and by great I mean they're so dysfunctional and they barely work together. But that's kind of fun.
That's what makes it work.
Yeah.
I think it's once again it's one of the strengths of like a Gunn film, and like I said, I'm trying to do my best for like I want to give Gunn all his flowers, but I also want to be like it's obviously a team effort. It's not just him.
Yeah.
But like I think one of the strengths of his films, like he did with like Guardians, for example, is he's really good at taking these niche little characters and just figuring out ways to make audiences just fall in love with them and make them like so interesting. I fucking love the Justice Gang.
Yeah.
I definitely, based on trailers, I definitely view them like they would be like a tertiary antagonist, sort of, to basically be like they're even called in the movie like corporate superheroes essentially because they're owned by Maxwell Lord.
Yeah.
And I was so ready for them to basically be like, oh, they're going to be kind of the bad guys in opposition against Superman. But I just love that, like, nope, they actually have a pretty good working relationship with Superman, even though they have very different set of, like, morals. I love the scene where the kaiju attacks the city, and then Superman's been fighting it off and trying to prevent it from destroying the city for most of the time. And then the Justice Gang shows up. And I love Guy Gardner, who is the sort of self-proclaimed leader. He's a dickhead. He tells Superman essentially to fuck off. And then like immediately Mr. Terrific is like, so what's going on? And then they basically like talk shop, figuring out like what's going on with it.
But even when Superman's like, yeah, I could have knocked it and killed it like 10 minutes ago, but I'm trying to find a humane way to stop it. And Terrific's like, shut up, go for its eyes, and then they just in the most brutal way possible just start attacking this creature in the eye.
It's like, we're killing this fucking
Like,
thing.
we're just killing him.
It's like, don't.
Yeah. And Superman's like,
Why can't we take it to like a zoo or something?
yeah, and Superman for most of that fight is more just like getting people out of the way and just like saving people while these other
So he's kind of the backup.
yeah, well, because like the other guys aren't doing
But yeah, I mean-
anything.
They don't care.
Yeah.
Well, like the thing is, like, I mean, Superman was right. It's kind of like, hey, because he's basically, it's almost like an exact opposite of like the Man of Steel fight, where essentially his duty is to minimize the destruction and casualties, and the way they're going about it is the most dumb brute force way. Not this scene, but I do remember the one where they're like, it's from like the apartment, and you see them fighting the like interdimensional being or whatever, and Guy Gardner is just summoned a fucking big baseball bat and just starts
smacking the shit out of
It's all
it.
just like background dressing, and it's really cool.
Yeah, and like the thing is, like, they're dysfunctional, but I love them. I even thought my first feeling is like, oh man, I really loved all of them. I love Guy Gardner. I love Mr. Terrific. I felt like I didn't get enough of Hawkgirl. I still kind of feel that way, but on second viewing, she has like, honestly, she has a lot of great scenes and a lot of great lines. It just might be easy to miss it, but like, really listen to her, because her delivery on stuff is fucking like, it might be, it's very like low-key hilarious. Also, she does get probably like one of the best sort of like mic drop scenes, except it's more like drop a dictator scenes. We're just like, it's just like, you're like Superman, you're a lot like you're like Superman, you're too soft, you would never kill me. It's like, well, I'm not Superman, and then just fucking drops his ass. It's like, it's freaking awesome.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't ask a question, doesn't even like try to interrogate, doesn't like, nah, I came here to kill you.
Yeah, and it's like, I fucking absolutely respect that. I also love the little touch of like Hawkgirl just kind of like having the like just hawk screech
Dude, it's
every time
so,
she flies in.
like, it's so I remember like the first time I watched it, just like, Jesus fuck it. And the fact that like they took the camera and put her like almost against her nose, the most unflattering shot you could ever, or the most unflattering alien you could ever give a person. And it's so funny. I
Yeah.
fucking love that shit. She probably also
But,
has
like-
like my favorite. Well, no, that's actually not true. I was about to say she has my favorite costume because I love her headpiece, but then I just remembered Mr. Terrific is in this movie. So
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
his
no,
outfit's really good.
he's
Yeah.
got that shit on.
There's gonna be so many people that want his jacket, and I honestly, I get it. I
I
100%
don't blame
get
him.
it.
I also want his jacket. That shit's hard, dude. What do you want? It says fair play on either arm. It's so sick.
It is. It honestly, it fucking is.
Yeah. Well,
The
let's.
costume designer understood the assignment.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's talk about him as well, because he's probably my favorite character in the movie. He's so fucking cool. I love his. Almost every line he delivers is either hilarious or just so badass. Like Seth said earlier when Lois is trying to explain, like, I don't know, like, what we are. I almost broke up with him, but then he said he loved me, and he's like, he just side-eyes her after saying, like, I don't do emotions.
He just like, didn't I just say that shit?
Yeah,
man?
and how he just, ironically, despite him being the most, like, emotionless person, like, he always tries to, like, come across like, oh, he doesn't care. He actually is probably the nicest. He's the nicest member of the Justice Gang. He's the only one that's like, no, let's go save Superman. Fuck these guys. Like, fuck the corporation. Fuck the rules. I'm just gonna.
Well,
I'm
even
gonna go
then,
save
and,
them.
and to be fair, he still sticks with that characterization because he's like, well, it's definitely worth investigating or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think I think he
do-
also says like, I'm mainly doing this because it'll piss off Guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's doing it out of spite.
Yeah.
Yeah, which might be partially right, but like, yeah, no, and I think, and I'll just touch on this really quick to go back to like the theme of this film. I remember because I feel like with the kind of like, I personally think one of the big main conflicts they kind of set up in this film is Baravia's invasion of Jaunpur, which recent years we've been seeing a lot of situations like that. I think there's a lot of like real world stuff tied to this kind of shit that we could talk about it happening now. And you always hear how people talk about it's so complicated, we can't do anything, can't get involved, blah blah blah. And then Superman does this thing and kind of sets the whole world upside down. I love that, going back to what I was talking about, how Superman inspires the change and people to take action, is when you think about in the timeline of the film, just the day before, Lois was in there talking with the team, telling them that like Superman has been taken somewhere. He needs their help. And like she believes that Lex is doing all this so that it can allow Baravia to invade Jaunpur. And they're like, we don't want to get involved with that. Like this is not what we do. It's a, you know, I love the line of like with Guy, it's just like it goes against my vow, and then the Hawk Girl's just like he always says that. Like anytime there's something he doesn't want to do, he just says it goes against his vow.
It's implied. An implied oath. Okay.
But I love the fact that like just the day before they're saying we're not going to get involved, and then the very next day they're the ones who are in Jaunpur defending its people from Baravia. Plus, also one of my favorite lines: Guy Gardner shows up. You think this kid's about to get shot, and he saves them, and he's just kind of like, "Sorry, kid, Superman couldn't make it.
Yeah.
You're getting an upgrade." I fucking love it, and I feel like that's one of the, I think, messages people get is they believe, oh, so we're saying that we just need Superman to save the world. Like, we need Superman to solve these conflicts. And it's like, no, that's not at all what the film is saying. I think the film is saying is like, Superman doesn't even really solve the conflict. He stops the immediate invasion, but it doesn't mean he's there to stop the second one. But what it shows is Superman is able to inspire change so that it's not just him out there to like try to stop this. It's other people like working together to try to do their best to like stop like fucking like crimes against humanity. I think that's just the basic message of it. It's just like, it's not about Superman saving us. It's about it's about Superman inspiring people to save each other. I love that so much. So yeah, the scene with them like fighting off the Baravian soldiers was one of my fucking favorites. Also, once again, really glad, because apparently it was shown in trailers. Really, really glad I kind of stopped watching trailers at a certain point, because I just love Guy. fighting against the army,
With a
and he's
middle
just
finger.
summoning middle fingers, like just
Oh, I
like
fucking
moving
love
things over.
that. I
That's
didn't
so good.
notice that at first, and I saw like, is that a middle finger? Oh my god, he's flipping them off.
Yeah, he
If
throws
it's not the
3
first
more,
one, you definitely
just in
probably
case you missed the first one. God.
So yeah, I honestly I love the Justice Gang. I love I mean, no one is perfect in this movie, but I do love an imperfect group of heroes. I think it's what makes Guardians work. It's what makes this group works. So yeah, they're amazing. I think each
Gun
and
handles
every-
that kind of dynamic well.
Oh yeah, and like I'm now in a weird spot where I'm like, I actually wouldn't mind a Justice Gang movie. Like in all honesty, I probably would fuck with it.
Probably, but like, my favorite fight scene in the whole movie. You said you love the end, by far, and I think this is pretty universally agreed. This is the best like solo fight scene. It's just Mr. Terrific versus just a bunch of scientists and goons. And they even say beforehand like, "Oh, he's just the smart one. We can take him." And the whole like, again, just how well James Gunn can work with music. The whole fun thing. And the scene where it's almost like a complete one-shot, him just going around, his little T-spheres are smacking the shit out of people, electrocuting. The way he uses it, the way also he physically like jumps through, just starts punching people to show like he's not just the smart guy, he is like a world-class athlete as well.
Yeah.
He's so great, and I fucking love that scene so much. It's definitely like the best, in my opinion, the best choreographed like fight scene, and it's not with Superman. It's with the Mr. Terrific, who no one else would ever think to use in a Superman movie other than Gunn. And it's just so, I love it so much. The way it syncs up with the music, the sound of guy of dunk 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 dunk, like with the T-spheres hitting them. Just how nonchalant he is. The fact that he's also bashing regular scientists. Like the guys in just Hawaiian shirts aren't like soldiers or like they don't have any of the trained armor. They're just working a job, and he's like, "Nope, you get hit too. Fuck you," and just banking their head on the wall. It's great. That scene's so much fun, and that's kind of why he's probably like my favorite of the three.
Oh yeah, I definitely think that's like I agree. That's a standout scene. I really like that one. I just like also one of my favorite lines. It's like, I'm giving you one last chance to stand down. It's like funny. I was gonna say the same thing, and
Yeah.
this is like fucking gets into it. Yeah, it's an incredible scene. I think the best way I kind of felt like after Mr. Terrific, that as a way to like my normie brain to be able to understand who this character is, like, oh, he's basically Iron Man without a suit.
See, to me, I just more interpret it as like not as edgy Batman. That's kind of
Yeah.
that was my interpretation. Like he's Batman, but he doesn't need to constantly remind everyone that he's the coolest in the room. He just is.
I guess we just have like a lot of just like humans with not like powers, but like with really cool like gadgets and tech. Because I definitely got more like Iron Man-ish vibes, especially with like how he's kind of like flying around and shit like that. But like, I get what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, I think Mr. Terrific is like is obviously like kind of the standout character. Like if he gets a standalone film, it would absolutely be deserved. And yeah, this sequence is awesome. It's a really cool fight scene. I agree. It is my favorite action scene in the film.
All right. So Robert, of our Justice Gang members, do you have a favorite amongst the three?
I think Green Lantern probably
Yeah.
stood out the most to me. Is that he's kind of a dick, but he still means well. And then I love that he's just like, all right, I don't want to do this. All right, I vowed not to do this,
Yeah.
or something like that. It's like he uses
Yeah.
an excuse, but then he also still kind of gets inspired by Superman, because at the end of the day, he and the Justice Gang still ended up showing up to Baravia and Jarnpur to help, keep the people from getting like killed. Like at the end of the day, they're still heroes.
Everybody loves an asshole with a heart of gold,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
that's exactly who he is.
I will also
Exactly.
I will also help you get give you guys some news. One of the So the next project is obviously Peacemaker, but the next one after that is a TV show that Gunn is working on. I think it's already like finished wrapping, but it is the Lanterns TV show, and obviously, he's the main focus is Jon Stewart, but Guy will be in that one as well. So he'll
like
be
another scene that I really liked with
Yeah.
Guy in it is when Lois just goes into the Justice Gang headquarters. Which, by the way, I love that she could just walk in.
Yeah.
It's just like a building anybody could go into.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they have like the exchange of like, do you know if he's Superman? And it's like, if I do, then
You shouldn't
if I
be
didn't
telling
know,
me.
then-
Yeah.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be explaining. It's like, okay, so you know he's Clark Kent. He's like, dude. And I love like, why does he
If I
telling
didn't know,
everyone?
you just told me.
Yeah, why does he tell everyone? What's even the point of the secret identity?
I also
Yeah.
like the part where like basically Gunn canonizes the like hypno glasses and stuff like that, which is hilarious.
Yeah, I
and it's
confirm.
actually funny 'cause, like, yeah, Lois actually mentions it earlier. It's like, you can't keep using the hypno glasses forever to get away with it.
People will catch on to this.
It's great. No, I think they're definitely a standout. But moving on from them to even more side characters is, as we mentioned, he kind of goes, turns himself in, yada yada, and gets put in to this prison, and you see just how much Lex hates Superman. Pretty much anyone that crosses his path, this wall of prisoners. He's got the monkeys that are just typing shit post online. Which
That is great.
Part of me did
His
feel,
locked up ex-girlfriends.
yeah, exactly. Part of me did think that might actually be a reference to the fact that like the reason James Gunn doesn't work with Marvel anymore was because of like a shitpost on the internet like years ago that eventually got like debunked. So I don't know. That felt very tongue in cheek, so that was funny to me. But then we're introduced to the most James Gunn character that could be put into this movie. And I'm trying to. Oh, I want to make sure I immediately lost it. It's not Elemental. What's his name?
Metamorpho. 'cause I think you were.
Yes. Yeah.
On Pawn Second Rewatch, I did realize that like he did call him on first name. He did call him like the Elemental Man, and then he says he metamorphos
Yeah.
into like other elements.
Because I think that's what I messed up his name at one point. I think I called him Elemental, but that's not what he's actually called. Anyway, was definitely the character from like, and this whole scene of like, who else but James Gunn would put that character in your debut Superman movie? Like, no one would think to be like the weirdo in full prosthetic who can make any element. But I think he's such a clever addition. He adds a lot of like humanity to the role, and it's also such a clever way of introducing kryptonite into this versus just saying like, oh, I just found some in the Indian Ocean, which would be fine, but like it feels kind of lazy versus being like, no, you have a character that can make any element, and that's a really smart way of using that character.
Yeah.
So I thought the whole pocket dimension stuff was great. How Mr. Terrific's like, this is the most dumb and irresponsible science in the world. The kind of stuff Lex Luthor like specializes in. And I felt like that whole scene of like, this to me felt, I know we keep bringing on like him, and like you said, it takes a village to make a movie. But that was the most like, this felt the most James Gunn part of this entire movie, was that whole scene and that character.
He does love a weird guy in his. He does love a weird guy in a suit as a character.
He loves
it. And honestly, it works really well here. Anthony Carrigan. I think most people probably know him from Barry.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I think he did a great job. I think not many scenes with him, but the scenes he is present, he does a great job of standing out. I like them a lot. Also one of my favorite lines where he like finally decides to get rid of the kryptonite, and then Superman is still like basically not passed out, but like still weak, and he's like, dude, why do you still look weird?
It's like, motherfucker, you did this to me. What do you mean?
Yeah. I need the sun.
Yeah.
yellow sun.
I can't make the sun, but I can make something similar, and then creates a sun. Jesus.
Little mini sun.
Yeah. Worked pretty much the same way. No, I think that's a great inclusion and a very clever way to use that character's powers. No, that's fun. But that's, I think, that's pretty much every, like, major side character as we, kind of continue. And we've been skipping over a bit, but I kind of want to move now into the most emotional part of the movie and where this already I've talked about how this stood above the Zack Snyder movies, but moving forward, terrific scene, chase scene, they get out of the prison, but he needs to go heal. And then it finally gets to the scene where they go back to Kansas, and he gets onto the scene with Ma and Pa, and there's a scene where he's talking to his dad, which I feel like directly mirrors a very similar scene in Man of Steel, where, to be fair, it's young Clark talking to his dad in that, because he lets his father die. But there's a moment where his dad's talking to him, and Superman's big conflict in this is that he realizes that his birth parents sent him here to conquer the world, not save it. But his dad, like, confronts him, and he's like, look, it doesn't matter what your parents told you to do. That's not a parent's job. It's what matters, what you're actually doing. And he just says, like, I couldn't be more proud of you. And just the acting from that guy and David, it's so strong, and it just brings forward the message so much of this movie of just, like, being positive, and especially, like, pushing that positivity onto others and spreading that. And
It helps. It kind of helps emphasize, like, even though the message ended up being something different, what Clark wanted to take from it says more about him than anything.
Exactly. And I think that just, like, if you look at the mirror version of Zack Snyder's one, and I know we keep referencing that, but it is, the most recent one, and this one of my least favorite scenes, and it's been defended a little bit, and I don't hate it as much as I used to, and then I watched this movie, actually I kind of hate it more, but there's a scene where young Clark is talking to his dad, and he's like, Clark even asks, like, what did you, like, because his dad's mad at him because he saved a bus of kids, and Clark's like, what do you want me to do, let a bunch of kids die on a bus? And Clark's dad's like, maybe, to, like, keep your secret identity and to keep you safe in this world. And people have defended it and saying, like, oh, he's more saying, like, he wants Clark to be careful because he's, destined for greatness, and he doesn't want to do it too early or else he can mess it up. And I'm like, A, it's not really established well in that, and B, that's not really the point of Superman. Superman doesn't have a secret identity to protect himself. He only does it so other people around him don't get hurt. And it just shows how much, like, how the messaging is just so wrong in that movie of just, like, oh, he has to keep himself a secret, and he has to, like, be essentially our savior and our Jesus Christ. Versus this movie, the message is as simple as just, like, just go out and just be good. And that's, as long as you're doing that and you're being as earnest in your heart with that, you'll be fine. And the scene just hits so much harder in the new one compared to the old one. And the old one, it feels weird and clunky, and it kind of almost comes across as the dad's just saying, like, fuck them kids on the bus, let people die to protect yourself and your own, like, security. Versus this, it's like, no, life is beautiful and life matters. You're doing good and you're doing the right thing. And that's just such, like, a beautiful and, like, heart-wrenching, like, scene. And it really just goes to show, like, two interpretations of Superman, but one that just, like, we keep bashing on Man of Steel. It's not that bad a movie. It's ironically actually probably one of the better one of Snyder's version, but it just kind of shows of just, like, his interpretation of the character isn't, like, traditional what Superman is, and I feel like this version and this viewpoint just hits a lot more with more people.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. And, like, of course I do absolutely agree. I love the scene with, like, Superman and his dad. In general, I love the Kents here. If there was any criticism I'd have, maybe, is that I wish I could have had more time with them. But at the same time, like, I feel like this movie is already so well placed that I feel like any added scenes would probably detract from the experience. And so I love them. And like, it always speaks to like the humanity element of like Clark, where it's just like, Clark is a good person because he was. Clark is a good person because his parents raised him to be a good person, and they succeeded so well with that. So that scene, yeah, it's amazing. It gets to the important part about Superman, which is the man. We talk so much extensively about how kind of the problem with like Snyder's film is, he kind of seems to focus too much on the superpower, the God part of like Superman, which God, I'm just glad we got a Superman movie that just doesn't immediately devolve into like Christian fucking
symbolism.
Everywhere. Like it's too much, man. It's just too fucking much. But God, he did this scene was stellar. Both actors just honestly fucking crushed it.
Yeah. Great scene. Love it. And yeah, we've kind of moved all the way to the finale. The big fight scene at the end. And this is kind of at the part of the movie for me though. It's not bad. Like, it's fine for like a big like closing scene, but to me, this is where I'm like, that probably could have been better. Like, the actual fight scene, focusing mainly on Superman with, like, him and the Engineer and Ultraman. It is, I will give it credit, it is creative, especially the way they use the Engineer's power. And it's a very creative way to, like, this could, in theory, actually kill Superman if you fill his lungs with these bots so air just can't move in. And I was like, that's a clever way to use her powers into, like, a different way to actually kill this being that's not just either kryptonite or magic. But where the film does kind of lose me of just, like, oh, we're doing the clone of Superman thing, and it's just another version of Superman is what Ultraman is. And that's why I'm like, it was a very obvious twist. If you know anything about Superman, also even just the name and the fact of that's Ultraman's just been doing Superman things the entire movie. And I get why, because, you know, it's the end, it's a big blockbuster. You need someone who is as strong as him for him to punch, because there needs to be the closing action scene. But that was kind of the part where I was like, I didn't care for. I don't think it like docked any points for me, but like if I had to be hypercritical of the film, that was the moment where I'm like, do we need the Ultraman stuff? I don't know. I feel like there was kind of a meh about it. And it's weird. I don't want to like be too mean about it because I don't hate it or anything. I'm just kind of like, everything else was very good, and this was just kind of there, like this twist that kind of just popped up.
No, I get you on that. I think just to kind of like go around, and let's just be honest with this, was any of us actually really all that bothered by the fact that Ultraman was like a clone of Superman? I get it's kind of predictable and it's a little eye rolling, but like, does it actually hurt any of our viewing experience of the film?
Probably not.
Nah.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of feel. I do agree. I would have preferred something a little bit more like interesting, but I feel like at the end of the day, I think the thing that kind of helps me make peace with it is, one, it's fine. They needed something here. And two, we already know that the star of the show, the real villain, is not like Ultraman. Ultraman is just the weapon. He's actually not special. Obviously, it's Lex and it's Clark's dynamic that's important to the film. So that's where I'm able to like kind of like excuse it.
Yeah, so it's Lex fighting Superman through Ultraman.
Yeah, and I do feel like, you know, is this probably setting up Bizarro? Probably. Um, yeah, and most likely since he falls into a black hole. If anything, I know knowing Gunn's style, he would probably do super well with Bizarro as a character, because he's so good at like adapting the weirdest elements of comics, and Bizarro's so cartoony.
Yeah, it's a very James
sorry,
Gunn-ass character.
Yeah, but I do kind of feel at times it's like, man, I kind of wish you could have went ahead and just did Bizarro. But at the same time, this movie already had enough elements, and as I said before, I feel like adding anything extra here would really just pull away from already the good pacing in this film.
Well, let me ask you guys this: if it wasn't, let's say it wasn't Ultraman, like there wasn't the reveal he was a Kryptonian, and instead the final fight scene is Superman versus like Lex in a suit. Do you think that would have been like kind of like his classic comic suit where he's big but it still has the open face so you can tell who it is?
It's gonna take me a while to get used to like the idea of like Lex in like a suit, because I always felt like the thing that makes it interesting about Lex is he doesn't beat, funny enough, it ties back to one of his lines. It's like brains over brawn. That's actually true. Lex has spent, they do a really good job of setting it up that like basically Ultraman is just the tool. Lex is the brains behind it. The tool doesn't work without its brain. And Lex is the one that's been obsessing over Superman. He's the one that's been obsessing over creating all these movesets and anticipating what his next move is. I feel like if you put him in just like a mech suit, it's just kind of like, I don't know. I feel in a weird way, and I know it's something that
you kind of missed the point a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
It sort of betrays the character in a sense, even though I know it is a comic book thing. They do it in Injustice as well. So yeah, it feels a little odd. I do prefer this way.
Yeah. I actually I agree with that.
I think
yeah.
going back to kind of like seeds that really highlight Lex, I think this actually would be the one I would point to. Is just how obsessed he is that he's like made 25,000 simulations of what kind of like moves he's gonna do.
Yeah, they say a line in the beginning where it's like over 200 different commands to simulate different fights, and it's everything from 1A as a standard right hook to I think it was like X25, and it shows him like flipping the guy over. I forget what the command is for crotch shot the man, but there is a moment where he flips Superman, opens his leg, and stomps his nuts. And I was like, why the fuck is that? I mean, I know why that's a command because it's effective, but that's crazy that that's a designated move.
Yeah.
He thought of this.
Yeah.
I also love that, like, and obviously, once again, the internet is the one that pointed it out. And I don't know if this is Gunn's intention, but it's very funny that, like, just the right hook to the face 1A move is like, if we're going by alphabetical numerical order, that's the very first move that like Lex came up with, was just punch him in the face.
Yeah.
Just
fucking, hey man, start the basics, you know?
So I gotta respect it. But yeah, and that's the thing. It's just like, I feel like for the first movie, this is fine. And like, I know some people and some reviewers made a whole big spiel about like hating clone Superman, and I get it. Clones are like, they're such a tough trope because it feels like no one ever actually likes it. It's never seems to be executed well in not just comic books, but in like literally anything.
Yeah. Well,
go ahead.
I was just saying, my whole thing, and it's not just this movie. It's kind of a trope that I'm starting to get tired of in superhero films, and it's been doing everything of just the main villain is our main hero, but just the evil version, but they have the exact same powers. So it even starts like Iron Man 1, it's two guys in a suit, which is, yeah, hey, fine, it's the first one. Black Panther, they're the exact same moveset, exact same outfits, and you know, this is kind of another, I can think of Ant-Man, any story with Green Lantern, you know, like, it's kind of starting to get a lot, and I don't it's not even like, it's fine. I'm not too mad about it, but it's one of those things where like everything else in this movie is very creative with the way they use everyone's powers. That I think that's why I have mixed feelings about the final fight being a punch up of two guys who are really strong. And it's a Superman movie, so it's gonna happen, and it makes sense. But it's one of those where I'm like, I definitely feel like for going forward, I definitely want more creative villains versus just he's physically strong. So it's just two guys physically punching each other when there's a lot of creativity that you can have with a lot of these different power sets.
Yeah, I would say even the engineer was way more interesting just because of
that
like
fight was way
the
cooler when like she was
the way she's able to take out, and way that I don't think gets appreciated enough is the way that Superman kind of outsmarts them. Is because like obviously the way she manages to like really kind of focus on taking Superman out is filling his lugs with these like nanomachines, son. And then but basically, whenever he flies up in the air and they're like, why are they doing this? Like, even with friction, by just like flying into the stratosphere, it won't remove the nanites in his lungs. But then he like starts to fall down after she fully encases them. Basically, Superman forced her into a game of chicken with him. The literal like Man of Steel. It's just like, you either take the nanites off of me and you protect yourself, or I crash into here and you die on impact.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's actually a fucking smart way of like using like Clark's abilities to like outsmart a villain. I actually really like that.
Yeah, and that's
It's
what I
small,
mean of like, there's really creative things you can do when people have very weird and unique powers. Even if the other guy is just strength, there's very creative ways you can use that.
Versus Ultraman, it's like Ultraman only really uses his laser vision once, I think, and it is a cool scene where he like lasers directly into Clark's eyes, but like other than that, he doesn't really use his powers that much.
He technically uses it twice, because it's after Krypto like starts breaking the walls and like Ultraman's just kind of throwing anything out because he doesn't know what to do. He's not getting commands, but he shoots lasers as Superman's flying, but Superman just dodges them. And actually had probably one of my favorite moves from him is like slaps him down and then like heel kicks him down.
And then so like basically Superman stomps his foot on his neck and then grabs him by his leg and then just throws him over.
Yeah,
right?
just starts spinning him. Yeah, right before that, Ultraman tried to like shoot him with a laser that just didn't. He just dodged and then kicked him in the fucking head.
Yeah. While I wouldn't say it's better than the Mr. Terrific, I will say I actually did appreciate this fight on the second viewing because it got me to appreciate more of the things Superman did. Like, he did the sort of, like, I think it's whenever Engineer is first, like, trying to get the nanites on him, and so she's attached at his arm, and they're in the, like, baseball stadium. Yeah. They're in the baseball stadium, and basically he Superman does the Gogeta spin and then basically tries to hit Ultraman with the Engineer.
Yeah.
I was like, this is fucking sick. Also, even the way he takes out the Raptors is cool. He does the big spin like laser attack, which is awesome. Which I still think like they're suggesting, and hey, I'll go along with it, that Superman managed to laser down all those Raptors without killing any of them.
Yeah, because there's a scene where they're on the ground and most of them are still moving around. Like they have a thing on them, but they're like, ow, that fucking hurt. Not, ow, my lungs are on the ground. Like,
God, I love that. Also wish they didn't show that in the trailer, because that was a fucking sick move.
The spinning move would have been cool. But it was
But yeah, like I think you can look at this film and just like there are like it's Ultraman is kind of like not the best villain with a very interesting weakness. I'm glad that like Gunn once again using a joke to set up like a plot point where it's just basically like, Krypto likes to chase these little like electronic balls around. He chased around Mr. Terrific's T-spheres, and then now he's chasing around Lex's cameras. I think that was very well set up.
And Krypto, get the toy. It's great.
Yeah. I love that. One thing that was confusing for me
Mm-hmm.
during this scene, and this is not really a criticism, this is just something I was a little confused by, is that because two things really. Ultraman has like the speaker in his chest because that's how Lex is talking to him,
Yes.
talking to Clark during this scene, and like I'll be honest, the way Superman was talking with him and basically getting Lex to talk about basically admit to his plans with the Baravian government and all this stuff, and that he wanted to do all this just to kill Superman. At first, I was thinking like, is Superman recording this? Like, I for a second I thought like, oh, is he like, is Superman basically like getting Lex to expose himself? Which is like, hey, I mean, all I say is Clark is a journalist also.
That actually
like,
would be really funny, because there's a joke earlier where he doesn't know how to use the recorder. That would be funny if he pops it out and he's like, I learned how to use this now.
Yeah, that would be funny. But at the same time, I already feel you already had Lois and Jimmy do all the legwork on that.
Yeah.
You already have them in the like the is it called the, I am not calling it the T-Mobile. The
I don't even remember
and, like,
what they call it, because everyone else calls it just the flying saucer. Its real name is only said once at the beginning.
Yeah, but the Daily Planet people are already kind of taking care of it, so it'd be like, this is kind of double dipping if we had that. So I get that. I was just a little confused. The other thing that's a little stranger is I'm trying to figure out, like, did Ultraman ever actually talk in this movie? Because
No.
Lex kind of said,
he just
like,
grunted.
yeah. Well, here's the thing. I caught this on the second view. I was like, oh, that's very odd. Obviously, yeah, like it seems to suggest that like everyone's talking through the speaker in his suit. So like whenever he's the Hammer of Baravia, oh, Superman, he says that he was using a fake Baravian accent. You can suggest that it's like one of the LexCorp people talking through that. But there's the part where they're talking to Ultraman, and then they're like letting him know that like, hey, Superman's back, and he just says copy and flies back. I'm like, I would assume Ultraman is the one that said copy there. So it's like, is that the one time he ever said anything in this movie?
Yeah, I guess it could be implied that he is the one actually talking in the suit. Like, when he's
and we
doing the
just don't
fake
know.
Baravian accent. But it's still, like... Yeah, it's, like, very still low, like... It's essentially like a robot. Like, his level of communication. So, I guess
so,
that's
like,
the point. I guess he does...
It's not an inconsistency thing. It's just a question of, like, how, quote-unquote, stupid is he, like Lex was talking about.
Yeah. Because he is smart enough to, like, when he doesn't have commands, he doesn't just sit there like a rag doll. He does still try to fight. And he does still swing, and he just sucks at it without, the cheat sheets.
Well, he also catches when Miss Tessmacher is, like, in the closet talking to Jimmy. He's the one that catches on that something's off.
Yeah, he's like, talking shit. So he's somewhat, but it's more almost like a guard dog that can still talk.
And hey, if he does come back as Bizarro, I think we'll probably get maybe clearer answers on that.
Yeah.
This isn't like a pressing question. It's just like a little detail I noticed. I was like, this is very interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much the finale. The only other notes that I didn't touch on is I can't believe I skipped over this, but Jimmy Olsen's my fucking hero. Like,
Oh yeah.
I love the characterization that he's just a player, and every woman in this film just wants him. And that joke is so funny to me, especially when it's like the hot assistant goes and she's like, okay, I'll give you the dirt on Luthor, like the thing that can save Superman out of prison and like save his life and probably save like these countries' life. All you have to do is hang out with me on the weekend. And he's like, how long do I gotta hang out? Like, he starts to bark. He's like, all weekend? I don't know. That's so funny to me. I love Jimmy.
Yeah, no, that part was like, yeah, I agree. That part was hilarious. I really did like that. Yeah, we were just like, yeah, like I said, I was watching with my girlfriend. We were just like watching this scene where he's getting all this stuff with like from her name is Miss Tessmacher, which is actually a reference to Donner's Superman, because that also Lex's assistant in that the woman was Tessmacher.
Yeah.
Also, one of them was also called Otis, the black guy, who also in the Dawn of Superman was Otis and another guy I can't remember. But anyways, but we were watching that scene too, and we're just like, Jimmy's getting all this stuff, and I remember my girlfriend was like, "Don't fuck this up, Jimmy," and it's just kind of, and then he's like, "How long?" It's just like the all weekend. It's like all weekend. Yeah, it was fucking.
I'm sorry, it's an inconvenience for you. No, it's fine.
Oh God,
I love him.
no, I
love
love
Jimmy.
that.
This-
And
I can
Yeah,
say
Jimmy-
that definitively. Favorite version of Jimmy also. This guy's fucking hilarious.
no, he's great.
I want his TV show. But I mean, that's pretty much leads us into the, the big finale, and the last two big moments of this film are, well, a cameo at the very, very end, and an explanation on why Krypto is the crazy person he is because it's Supergirl, and she is an awful owner, which I'm excited to see more of her. But, the two kind of actual big last scenes is Superman, and we've already alluded to, the ending, but Superman's big speech and kind of outlining the message of this thing of like, no, I'm more man than alien. Like, I am a human being, and I hope one day you'll realize this. And then also the close sauce of, oh, let's play his parents' message that sues him. And the scene where it's playing punk rocker and it's showing his actual childhood, like him as a kid. And I love that it's none of them, like, he's not using his powers in any of those like old-timey footage. It's not him actually flying or shooting lasers. It's just him being a normal kid. I think that scene is like great and beautiful, and I love how like so many people watch that movie and have like watched that scene at the end and have kind of started this like in real life trend of people going online. It's like, guys, a new movie personality dropped, an actual good person, and people kind of jokingly, but like to an extent, actually happy. Like, people are just saying like, I'm just gonna start being nicer to people, like just being more positive. I'm like, oh wow, there's like a real life effect, and I don't know how much that actually is happening, but it is kind of cool that like even as a joke or even just for a moment, people are actually like, oh yeah, I can bring goodness into the world. I'm like, that's all a superhero movie can do, really, is just actually spread positivity, which is crazy.
Yeah.
What are your guys' thoughts on the ending?
It's kind of like what I mean. I talked about it earlier, and then like that's kind of like what I meant by the whole like Superman is supposed to be like. I think he touches into the public zeitgeist and inspires like a change in people, and I think like Superman, like, it shows the film is successful because Superman is doing exactly what he was created to do, which is to inspire people just to be a bit kinder to each other and to like try to do as much good as they can into the world. You don't need Superman to save the world. You just need him to maybe inspire it a little. Yeah. Exactly. And I think that's what the ultimate message. I think that's what a part of the message of this movie is. Because like we talked about before, but like so much of this movie is about it inspiring people that aren't Superman to take action. Metamorpho is inspired by Superman to like try to make up for this person who was executed in front of him and try to do good in this world. Like the Justice Gang is inspired by him. Lois and the Daily Planet are inspired by him. I fucking love that. Like, so it's and like that end scene is incredible. It's so touching. Like I said, it's just so good at like how well that they set that up right from the beginning. Yeah. I'm excited for the future of this too. Not only was this film great, but also I think it sets up enough like interesting questions to make me interested immediately in the next Supergirl film. I don't know much about Supergirl immediately, but I do know about a little bit about the comic book run, which is I think Woman of Tomorrow that they're specifically adapting, which people have described as more as like a big spacefaring sci-fi epic story for Supergirl. And also we have like a lot of questions now that we know kind of like, first off, glad that it wasn't doctored by Lex. I'm glad that they stuck with the idea that like, no, this is a real message from his parents.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's what helps inspire him to basically be like, I'm still gonna do what I set out to do, regardless of what my parents actually wanted me to do. It's interesting because it's like, okay, well, Kara is also a Kryptonian. It's just like, what did she know? Also, like, how does this impact her?
So,
like,
fun thing about so Supergirl's backstory is, and I think it's kept the same in this, is she's technically older than him, but she was sent away as an adult, but just because of like her ship was damaged, so she didn't get here as fast. So he technically is younger in like she was born first, but he is older because of the way time works in space. So she would have known who Clark's parents were, like her nephew, her aunt and uncle, like all that. But the explanation that they said online of why didn't Supergirl tell Kal what the message actually meant, and the reply was he just never asked. That's it. That's the canon reason of he didn't ask. He just didn't want to know, like, hey, what do you think they said after this? He never asked, which I think is really funny. So, but she would have known, which is a bigger thing in her story. Like, she would have known those people, but also that means she actually saw the destruction. She knows what the planet actually was and the culture, which is kind of why in this one, it's really interesting that she's kind of shown as like she's a hot mess. Like she showed up and she even said like, I go to different planets with a red sun so she can drink and party. She doesn't really take care of her dog at all. She just lets him break whatever he wants. Because like she probably is actually depressed about losing her like all people. Like Superman's definitely sad about that because he'll never know him. But she's like, I watched my entire planet get blown up. And like dealing with that, so that'll be very interesting, like what they do with her in like that storyline.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing something along those lines of like that same comic book run also deals with her. It's like, yeah, she deals with like alcoholism, actually, and I think it is tied to like the traumatic events with Krypton for her. Yeah. So I think it's going to be a very interesting film. I'm very much looking forward to that.
No, it'll definitely be sick. This film also does prove my point that I've said for a while of no matter the comic book character, no matter their costume, every comic book outfit is 100 times cooler if you just throw a jacket on them. Because how sick is the Supergirl design, but even just with a trench coat on, she looks great. She looks awesome.
Oh yeah,
and like the same with like if you put a hoodie on Spider-Man, it's the coolest shit ever. That's what Miles is. It's so, like just put a jacket on regular comic book character. That's why Gambit's super cool. He's always got a jacket on. I love her. I love her design in this. And yeah, I'm also really excited for the future of like kind of this area. Yeah, the next thing we have is Peacemakers, and then probably. I don't know what's first. It's either Supergirl or the Lanterns TV show. It's one.
Wasn't Peacemaker like already out?
Peacemaker season 2, its trailer is out, but it will be coming out soon. And Peacemaker
season 1.
Season 1 is already out, but season 2 will explain how. Oh, by the way, there's a Peacemaker cameo in this. Season 2 will explain how he's here from the previous universe. And they even have a funny line in the trailer of just like he gets here for the first time. I think his line is like, wow, everything's just so much brighter and better and just nicer over here. Like out of throwing shade, which is funny. But yeah, Robert, what are your kind of thoughts on Yeah, we kind of went over a lot of topics, but so I got two questions for you. What are your thoughts on
Okay.
kind of the ending of the film? You know, what they set up and kind of the message of the film, and also, what are you excited about with this new universe?
Um, I guess I'll answer the ending first. I think what got me the most about the ending was when Gary is like, "Should I put on the thing about your parents? It brings you comfort." And then instead of like his birth parents, you see just a montage of him with his parents in Kansas, and you get to see a lot of him growing up and them having good times. I thought that was a really nice touch
Yeah.
because it's like it it's him showing that the parents, like, he knows and the ones that raised him taught him to be who he is, means more to him than the message of his biological parents
Mm-hmm.
that ended up being like, "Oh, we want you to conquer." It's like what he felt, you know, the people who raised him ended up being more important to him
Yeah, exactly.
in the long run. So I like the messaging of that. And then I am interested to see where they do with this DC universe. I'm kind of curious who they end up doing like Batman, because I don't know if they'll do like Robert Pattinson again or try to find like a different person to play
Yeah.
Batman for
yeah,
this.
definitely no Robert Pattinson for this. Gunn has already made it clear that like,
Okay.
and he approves it, but like the Batman universe with Robert Pattinson is its own thing. It is not going
Yeah.
to be involved with the DC universe.
Okay.
I will say,
I think I do like that.
whatever they do with Batman, I really hope he can still be like brooding and edgy and whatever, because that'll even be a fun contrast with like this very bright and happy Superman. But I do hope, I want a blue suit. I want a live action bright blue suit, and he can still be, you know, like very serious Batman and all that. But I think the classic like blue and maybe even a hint of yellow, because that'll make this Batman really stand out, because that's a character we've seen so many different times, so many different tertiations, but we haven't really gotten like kind of the very like, you know, I don't know if I even want to say like campy, but like still kind of like uppity and almost. I want the Brave and the Bold Batman is what I'm trying to say. I want that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that would fit this world really well. I think that would be great. And get that one dude that plays
That would
Preacher.
be
He
cool.
always says he wants to play Batman, and I think he'd do great in it, because that guy's giant.
Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's a good time to be kind of just in general like excited for this universe. I feel like DC is it's cool to see DC like, and I still haven't seen the Suicide Squad. I've still not seen Peacemaker.
The Suicide
But it
Squad's
seems-
so
Yeah, those-
good.
Yeah,
the
but
Suicide
I
Squad
definitely
is so
feel
worth seeing.
yeah, but like I feel much more compelled to watch those now because of this movie. I think DC has something that feels good and unique now, and I feel like it when I watch after coming away from this movie, it reminded me of something that like Gunn said like in an interview when he was like kind of first picked as like now the kind of the leader of the DC cinematic universe and all that, where he said something like he doesn't believe audiences are tired of superhero movies. He said he believes that like audiences are tired of boring superhero films. And I think like this is such a good film that like even though you get to its plot, it's relatively simple. It does a lot of smart ways of just not doing the typical superhero film genre tropes and all that. I even talked about it before with like Drew Offcast that like the humor in this, even though it's a very humorous film, it's done in a way where these are actual jokes. These aren't just like quips that people like trade with each other, which is something I appreciate. I actually appreciate like a traditional setup and punchline. Like it's very nice.
Yeah. The only time where I thought it got a little Josh Whedon-y, because on the second viewing, was when Mr. Terrific like after he beats Ultraman, Mr. was like, "Get up! What are you doing? Ain't no time. Like, we got serious shit to do." He's like, "I'm not laying around and doing serious shit." That's the only time where it felt a little Joshuian-y dialogue. But other than that, everything was. I genuinely laughed at a lot of things in this.
Yeah, and that one didn't even feel that bad at all. Like honestly, I feel like I kind of feel like you. It's like there's parts where it's like this is okay. You don't have to go overboard with this.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I agree with you on that.
Alright. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything, at least scene-wise, that I can think of this movie. And like I just said in the non-spoiler part, I think this movie's great. It's not, perfect, but in terms of superhero movies, this is what you want from Superman, and it's been definitely a thing we've been missing for a while. So yeah, if you're a big Superman fan, you've already seen this, but this is kind of like your love letter. And like we said, this is a great starting off point for DC, and I can't wait to see what more comes from this. So that's kind of my closing thoughts on Superman. Anything else you guys would like to say about the movie before we move on? I'll start with Robert, because me and Seth have been talking for a while. Robert, anything else that you missed out on or didn't get to say about Superman 2025?
I think I've covered just about everything that like immediately stood out to me.
Yeah.
Is that overall it's a really good movie. Not having seen a lot of like DC movies in the past like decade, I'm definitely interested to see what they're doing with this one, and I can't really say the same of like the last kind of cinematic universe they were trying to set up.
Yeah.
I think James Gunn kind of knows where he wants to take this, and I'm curious to see what he does.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right.
Yeah.
And Seth, any closing thoughts from you before we get to the 3-hour mark?
Yeah, I mean, go and watch this movie. I think it's great. It's just a fun time. I think it's got like such a nice, powerful human message at the core, and at the same time, it's just a fun movie. And there's just so much I think enough wonder and whimsy that's in this movie that I feel like has been kind of absent or sort of grinded out of a lot more of films in this genre over the years.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I do actually want to piggyback a little bit with that. It's like I think what this movie really exceeds in is that we live in a time where there's just a lot of divide between people, and the movie really tries to stress to care for your fellow man, and that's something that I think a lot of people kind of needed to hear right now.
Yeah, it's a good message to have. And I also love that it's a movie where it actually shows it's good to be a superhero. There's been so many movies, especially come from DC, but even Marvel, I've just been saying, being a superhero is so tragic, and it's the worst thing ever, and it's so hard. I'm like, no, there should be an underlying message of, it's fun helping people. It's a good thing, and people enjoy doing it. And that message, has been kind of lost for a while.
Yeah, it's good to have superheroes feel like superheroes again.
Exactly. And that's the best way to describe this movie. It's superheroes that feel like superheroes. All right. Well, I think that's about everything we can say about Superman. And I didn't ask you guys to repair it this time. So I'll ask you, do you have a fresh pick, or do you want to end it off here? I'm fine. I can make one up or go along, because I realized I didn't actually tell you guys to have a fresh pick of the week.
I got a fresh pick.
All right.
Yeah,
I remember.
All right. Well, then, how we end all our podcasts, we tell you what we've been watching, playing, or listening to when we're not recording this podcast. And we haven't done a lot of recording this podcast, so we've played, watched, and listened to a lot of things. So, Robert, what's been your fresh pick of this week?
I think the latest thing I ended up finishing was Cyberpunk Edge Runners.
Mm-hmm.
Just on a whim, I kind of had an interest to go back and watch it, because I've been trying to get back into watching some shows and stuff during my lunch breaks.
Yeah.
So I checked out Cyberpunk Edge Runners. It's something that I've always heard was pretty good, and you don't have to have played the game to really understand it. And I think it does a really good job showing off like the world it takes place in. And I liked like just the character interactions and kind of seeing what they do, which it doesn't end well for a lot of them, but you just kind of get to, you get to kind of see how shitty the world is. And I just think it was really interesting despite all that.
No, I definitely agree. I really like that show, and I don't really like Cyberpunk is not my kind of game. I even if it did run properly, I don't think I would have liked it.
Yeah, I've been trying out the game a little bit
Yeah.
since I watched the show. Like so far, it's pretty decent. I just think I need to spend more time with it.
Yeah, it's the equivalent
Yeah.
of like how Arcane is to League of Legends. I love Arcane. It's such a good show. I'm not playing League of Legends. It's the same with Cyberpunk.
Smart man.
Yeah, I ain't playing that shit. But it's the same thing. It's like
Yeah.
I probably never will play Cyberpunk, and I'm okay with that. But I love Cyberpunk
And-
Edge Runners.
Yeah, and I feel like, and you know, it's funny. I'm kind of the exact opposite. I played through the game, and I enjoyed it. I had my criticisms. You could probably find those
Yeah.
somewhere online, but I had my criticisms of Cyberpunk game. But I really enjoyed the game. I actually did try watching anime, and I don't know. I just couldn't get past the first like couple of episodes. It doesn't help that I kind of already know how it goes because it got spoiled to hell and back for me.
Yeah.
Partially because I mean, it happens whenever it becomes a meme. You kind of anytime something becomes a meme, you sort of become aware of how it goes.
Yeah.
So whenever people are posting like really sad stuff about the ending of Cyberpunk, and I know these characters don't pop up in the game, I'm like, it's kind of hard. It's kind of easy to tell where this goes. I just couldn't get into it personally, but I do think that's a cool recommendation. Love Trigger. I think.
Oh
do
yeah, no,
fantastic
they
stuff.
cooked.
Yeah. The game is like, I feel like it's very weird to really recommend the game because it's like the anime is such a direct way of like telling like a story, you know, in a traditional like episodic format. Whereas with the game, you kind of create your own character, and B kind of has a personality, but their personality is just kind of being an asshole merc to everybody.
Yeah, I picked Street Kid as like my starter. I don't know how
Yeah.
much the Corpo or the Nomad changes like V's personality.
It really doesn't. That's the thing. It gives you a few extra dialogue options, but it really doesn't like change that much, to be honest. As a person who's played through it a couple of times, the background is more for flavoring rather than actually really cementing who your character is about. And there's just not that many moments in Cyberpunk, the video game, to express it. So it's one of those things where it's like really hard to recommend Cyberpunk to someone who likes it because of the anime. Because it's kind of like there's a good chance that like if you're not into like the open world RPG crime stuff, you're probably not gonna fuck with Cyberpunk that much.
Fair.
Yeah, and then also while watching it, I remember, oh yeah, Lucy's getting added to Guilty Gear.
Yeah, I saw that too.
I was like, oh yeah.
I also realized I might have to buy Guilty Gear because I had it on Game Pass and then uninstalled it to save room for what's gonna be my fresh pick, and then I was like, oh shit, it was on Game Pass. I never actually owed it. I'm gonna have to buy the game if I want to play Lucy.
Yeah, that's such a bizarre. I didn't even know about it till now. I was like, man, that is such a bizarre, like, kind of crossover character.
weird thing.
Does Guilty Gear do like a lot of crossover
No.
characters like
This is
that?
one
Not
of the
really.
First, this is. I think this might be its first ever non like fighting game crossover, and it might just be its first ever crossover because I can't think of another game where it does that. Like that's not the kind of. It's not a Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat where like every game or Tekken where every game has at least like one character that's not from the franchise. Like no, this is.
Yeah.
The
Guilty
first
Gear
one.
likes to keep characters from like its world.
Yeah, and
So,
or like
yeah.
make up new ones. So this is really new for this game.
That's pretty bizarre.
Yeah. But no, yeah, Cyberpunk Endures. I like the show as well. It's fun.
Yeah.
But Seth, if that show's not your cup of tea, what could possibly be your fresh pick? Please let the audience know.
Yeah. I don't know. The way you delivered that was very creepy.
Yeah, Drew, what the hell?
Anyways, my fresh pick is I've been playing through the Liza P DLC Overture. I've actually beaten it. I'm doing like a little bit of a second playthrough with a different character now on New Game Plus. I really like this DLC a lot. I think whenever we talked about Liza P, we talked about how good it was as like a Souls-like, and how it's like one of the developers that gets really close to or just about matching FromSoft in terms of its level of quality. I know a lot of us have said like we don't have Bloodborne 2, so Liza P is the closest thing we have now. I feel like after this DLC, it's really cemented for me personally that Liza P is very much its own awesome, beautiful thing outside of just Bloodborne. The story it tells is actually really well done, in my opinion, with the DLC. It's cryptic like the main story, but like I really like it, especially since they put a focus on like a new character that they're highlighting. Because there's a little bit spoiler, but not really. Since there's a little bit of time travel involved with this DLC, you get to see Krot before like the puppet frenzy, and kind of like during the around the start of the petrification disease. So it's a very interesting take on it. I really like the game. Really fun environments to explore. Tough as nails, but very cool boss fights. I would even say that the final boss is probably one of the coolest boss fights I've ever played. Period.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I don't want to spoil who it is, but like, there's just really. This DLC is fan service for people who loved Liza P in all the right ways that you should do fan service. It gives answers to questions in the story. It helps flesh out certain events. It's just also just chock full of like really cool surprises with boss fights and all kinds of stuff. So, man, I think right now for me, it's I would say Liza P Overture is in the running for like my personal like game of the year.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what happened with Shadow of the Erdtree when that came out. It's phenomenal. And really, well, all it does is it adds in new things. A lot of really good quality of life decisions, like being able to pick a difficulty level in the game, and just explaining certain mechanics a little better, just makes it just such a better experience. There's a lot of things where I even feel like now I think FromSoft can take a lot of lessons from this game of like, hey, the next Souls-like game you decide to develop, you should really take a lot of lessons from these people. These people clearly know what they're doing, and they're so good at it. Yeah.
As someone
Liza P DLC is my biggest recommendation right now.
Yeah.
I really need to get another copy of Liza P, because I played it off Game Pass, and then I stopped doing the Game Pass.
I did the exact same thing before Overture comes out. I'm like, I need to re-download this game because it looked. And I will probably still say, and I haven't played all the Souls-like because they're too easy for me, so I just don't go for it. Joking. But
you got the boss to fall off the bridge, and that really changed your whole viewpoint.
Yeah, I was saying, everyone was like, "Oh, this boss is so hard." I knocked him off the bridge on my second attempt. I'm like, I'm done with this game. I won. And yeah, but it's like I've only beaten Bloodborne. I've gone through most of the way through Elden Ring. I'll finish that eventually. And I've only started the others like Sekiro and all this, so I haven't played them all. But I can probably say, in terms of like the Souls-like, or even the Souls period, it's my favorite of them. There's so many quality of life things. There's still enough of the story in the main campaign where to get it, where you don't have to like read item descriptions everywhere to figure out or you watch a YouTube tutorial to figure out what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that it's more forward with its story.
Yeah, the weapon customization's great. It's such a good game period, and I will definitely be playing its DLC soon. I just haven't because I have to I know I'll have to buy the game and its DLC, so probably I'll do that whenever it goes on sale again. And then also I'm pretty sure where I last left off, I had only started a New Game Plus run, so I'd have to go through the game. And like Seth said, I can just lower the difficulty and make it to where I can start the DLC. But I'm just like, I gotta go through that again and push the game all the way to it was chapter 5, I think is what you said.
Yeah, well, so yeah, on New Game Plus it's chapter 5. On a New Game file, it is chapter 9. And I will say, I would recommend, if you can, obviously you play it how you want. So if you want to play through the DLC on the lower difficulty, that's fine. There's some mixed messages right now where the DLC is on New Game Plus difficulty, the scaling is a little bit weirder, so you might want to knock it down to probably the level below Legendary Stalker, which is kind of the at launch normal difficulty. Yeah. There's 2 easier difficulties below that. So obviously pick what you want. I do recommend Legendary Stalker. I basically played through a good majority of the game again because I didn't want to do a New Game Plus character for my first playthrough, so I basically had to blitz through most of the game on a normal character. So I just lowered the difficulty, ran through it, made a really basic motivity build to get through it. I will say it's fun, super challenging, but I think that's part of the appeal. Again, like I said, it's up to you if you want to actually do that. But I will say the final boss of this was so difficult that, and admittedly, I think I came in at a bad time. I had just basically been binging the game. It was late at night. I got to the final boss, and I was basically stuck on him for about an hour. So I will admit, I did basically be like, fuck this shit. And I just lowered the difficulty down and beat him the first time. It's shit, I gotta rob myself of that final boss. Thankfully, though, what I was able to do is, because of with all these updates, one of the other things they added in was a boss rematch thing where any boss that you beat in the game, okay, I can't say any boss. There's some mini bosses like Drew's favorite, the clown puppet, that you can't refight.
Fuck that boss. That's the main reason I haven't come back to that game. Fuck that boss.
But who knows? He might make a reappearance in the DLC. Anyways, but with the boss rematch thing, you go back to it. Boss rematches are always set on Legendary Stalker difficulty, and basically there are 5 tiers of difficulty. So the makeup for myself for not beating the boss quote unquote properly on my first playthrough, I did end up playing through and beating that boss on all 5 difficulty levels. So
there you go. The redemption.
But I will say, actually, because I now knew okay, I don't need to progress the story, it's just now me all focused on just the experience of the boss and learning it. Actually learning that boss's moveset was so fun, and it's so cool. Especially the second phase, it's so wild. So I think, and like I said, just boss rematch thing, I really wish From Software would do something like that. The only game they ever put that in was Sekiro, and that's it.
Yeah.
So I really think they could learn a few lessons from this team.
Yeah. No, Lies Bleed is so good. I will be quick with mine just so we can keep this under 3 hours. And it's a game that I've definitely tried to sell you both on, because it's a game where you would think you guys, it's your kind of game and not mine, that you guys would be the one to play it first. But Expedition 33 is not just yeah, I know, is not just my, at this current moment, game of the year. It's so many people's. It's so fucking good. From the soundtrack to the story to the gameplay, even though yes, it's turn-based, it's so interactive because you have a dodge and parry mechanic in it. It's amazing. I mean, there have been times I spent 2 hours on a boss because I got there, because it's very open of you can go to a very late game boss and it'll one-shot you, but if you're good at parrying and you learn his parry times, you can beat him. It'll take 45 minutes to beat him, but guess what the fuck I did? Yeah, and I just I learned the pattern and perfect parried everything.
So you don't take damage at all when you parry?
So if you dodge or parry, you don't take damage, but if you parry all these attacks, you can counter hit. And it's this super sick thing where, and there are moments where like it'll attack the whole team and like everyone's still just on the same button, but if the whole team parry, it's an expedition counter, and there's this sick slowdown shot. And it's so cool. And then even after doing it for 45 minutes and seeing essentially the same animation of my characters blocking an attack and then swinging and counter hitting them, it never got old because it was so sick looking. And it's just the sound design and design of each attack is really cool. It's so good. And I've already talked to Seth like off podcast about this. And you guys will play it, and I know you'll like it, but I think the way he described it is a bit too mainstream right now. So if you were to play it, you'd be kind of judging it on a curve. So I do respect that you know enough about yourself. Like, I'm going to give it some time, let everything settle down, and then give it an actual fair shot, which is fine. But me personally, playing it, in its hype, not knowing anything about its story, going completely blind, it's so much fun and it's great. The only kind of issue I have with it, and it's a little bit of my fault, if you do too much side stuff, the main story is so inconsequential. Like, it's so
classic.
I two-shotted the not only I two-shotted the halfway boss, and then the final boss.
Can happen.
The only reason I didn't one-shot is because it had multiple phases and the game wouldn't let me. But there's way harder challenges than the actual main story. And the game is like really fun and very addicting. And there's been so many people online that have said it. And it's crazy to me that like just before this, Kazan came out, and Kazan definitely would have been my game of the year in any other year because it's a Souls-like, but it has more action elements, and it's super fun. And I was like, oh, there's no way anything's going to beat this. I was even so confident Kazan was my game of the year. I had made clips of me fighting the final bosses because I'm like, oh, I'll use this in the podcast. And then I started playing Expedition 33. I'm like,
fuck.
Never fucking mind. It's this one now. Yeah, I'm like, fuck. So we'll see what that turns into.
I need to play both of those. I got copies of them for PS5 because I wanted to get physicals, and they're just gonna sit on the shelf.
You got it.
Yeah,
So
and
I was thinking about trying Expedition after I finished playing through like the Cold Steel Arc of Trails, and that's like 4 games
Oh god.
plus Reverie if you want to count that, so kind of 5 games.
Jesus. Both of
That's the Trails series is a fucking marathon.
yeah.
Yeah.
I both those games are great, but Expedition 33 is really good, and I know I'm fairly confident that you both will like them.
Probably,
Yeah.
no, that definitely. And I feel like I should at least explain myself like a little bit. Like I've told Drew this before that like my thing is just that I've noticed that, and this is not just in games, although I notice it a lot with games, is that any time someone talks extensively or talks about like, oh, this game is so amazing, this game is so great, that I basically reflexively, once I do start playing it close to when that conversation is happening a bunch online, that I'm kind of like, I'm nitpicking the game. I'm kind of like, it's not that good, blah, 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 blah. And I want to give this game a fair shot. I've actually found that, if anything, I now enjoy more often those kinds of games when I wait a year or so later and then play it. Because it gets away from the conversation. I'm not thinking about that shit anymore, and I just get to enjoy the game in my own time and space, and I really like it. I only just started to pick up, like, I know everybody was talking the shit out of Balatro last year. I only just picked it up like a couple months ago, and it is like, I'm still playing it. I still like it.
Shit's crack.
Yeah, and like, I mean, it's a very fun game. I don't even like, I shouldn't say I don't even like deck building games because I just don't play deck building games, but it's given me a whole new perspective on it. So I've been enjoying like it. Also, we talked about it last year that you really like Marvel Rivals. I didn't touch Marvel Rivals at all till this year, and it's one of my favorite multiplayer games now. Like, just like, I don't know how many hours I've spent with like Drew and Randy and like just going on and like just fucking playing a shit ton of matches of Marvel Rivals. So I know that like I will most likely like Expedition 33. I just have a bunch of other games, and I feel like, hey, I feel like it's okay. I can just wait a bit.
See, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'll play it in my own time, and I'm gonna.
It won't
I'm
shut
gonna,
it down after like a year.
Yeah, but it
Yeah.
will probably be on Game Pass.
I mean, and that's fine. Like, I feel like if I really want to, and that's the thing. Whenever Liza P was leaving Game Pass, I just went ahead and bought it because through Game Pass you get a discount on it anyways. So I was like, cool. I already love this game. I know what DLC's coming out for it, so I went ahead and just bought it. But also, I feel like this is okay that I skip out on this game that Drew's been like harping on, because like I don't know how long we've been telling you to try out something like Persona or whatever, and then you just like you don't. So it's just kind of like, Drew, you like, if we've been waiting these many years and you still haven't touched those games, you can wait a year before me and Robert decide to touch Expedition 33.
I played the Mass Effect games. I just want to point that out. I got there.
Yeah, but now you gotta play Persona 5.
Yeah.
And Mass Effect also was one of me and Randy's recommendations. It wasn't one of Robert's either. So like,
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
not played Mass Effect still.
Okay.
yeah.
There's a lot of games out there. There's a lot of games out there.
But yeah, no, like I definitely want to give it like a fair shake. Just right now, I have like so many other different things that like I'm interested in, or I just want to play through.
Yeah. Fair enough. There's a lot of good games out there, and there's a lot of good movies out there. And we will talk about as many as we can on this podcast. So I wanted to thank both of you guys for coming on and talking about Superman with me. It's always appreciated. I will never say no to do another podcast episode. And I want to thank everyone who is either watching or listening to this podcast. Like we said, it's been a minute since we've done one of these, but they're fun, and you know, it's always good talking about things we like. So maybe there'll be,
Yes, sir.
hopefully there'll be more in the future. More good things keep coming out. We'll keep talking about them. So yeah, thank you guys both again for coming on. Always love talking nerd stuff with you guys, and thank you guys for listening or watching. Stay safe out there.